mandate or something like that? That tells you what link to use.
That doesn't mean anything, Ryan.
Who do we have first?
No, she's not.
DDB?
But we gotta start.
Sorry.
This time I'll call to order the November 4, 2024 meeting of the City of Clearwater Downtown Development Board. This time we'll move to item 2 on the agenda, approval of the minutes.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Unanimous. This time we'll move to item 3 on the agenda, citizens to be heard regarding items not on the agenda. Is there anyone here from the public who desires to speak to an item that's not on the agenda today? Seeing and hearing none, we'll move to item 4.1. Approve an amendment to the grant funding agreement with Veterans Alliance Clearwater Corp. For Veterans Day event to eliminate the parade and reduce the funding by $15,000 and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same.
Thank you. Jesus Nino for the record, Executive Director for the CRA. Like the mayor here stated, this is a request to approve funding to continue for this event, the Veterans event. It basically eliminated the parade portion, which is in $15,000 or so. With that, staff is recommending approval, but also wanted to kind of put it here for the record that the Patriots Fest has been approved also for the city's high-impact event co-sponsorship, an amount not to exceed $32,000. This is for in-kind services, which include police, fire, traffic, parks, recreation, parking, solid waste, and public communications. Just wanted to put that out there for the record. So the Veterans Alliance Clearwater, they did submit a revised budget for this request here, which basically reduces their operational cost by $15,000. So staff is recommending approval. In addition, we do have individuals in the audience here. I think I saw them. If not, if I'm mistaken, then I apologize, but they're here to also answer questions.
Any questions from the board? Does anyone here from the public desire to speak to this agenda item? Hearing none, is there a motion?
Motion to approve agenda item 4.1.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you. Agenda item 4.2.
Staff is recommending approval of the September 2024 financial statements for filing.
Anyone here from the public desire to speak to agenda item 4.2? Hearing saying none, is there any board discussion? If there's none, is there a motion?
Move to approve agenda item 4.2.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Agenda item 4.3.
At the March 20th, 2024 DDB meeting, the board did approve a special events grant funding request for Southside the District Oktoberfest that would take place on October 12th, 2024. But due to Hurricane Milton and the other storm Helene, they had to cancel that particular date. So that staff is recommending that we move forward with allowing them with the new date they're proposing, which is for November 23rd, 2024, and the same amount of not to exceed $35,000. With that, staff is recommending approval. In addition, we do have the event coordinator here in the audience to answer any questions.
Does anyone here from the public desire to speak to agenda item 4.3? Any questions from the council? Other than the date, that nothing else has changed regarding this program?
We do have Parks and Rec here also to answer a few questions, but they did expend some money for that particular event, the promotions and so forth. So they are recommending that we still provide them the full amount so they can cover the cost from the last event that they had to cancel. But not too many changes, but they are now in alignment with the city's Rumba and Clearwater event, which is going to take place October 24th, and their event is taking place on October 23rd. that will allow them to receive assistance as far as what the city's already doing for our event.
Any other council discussion? Now, is there a motion?
Move to approve agenda item 4.3.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Agenda item 4.4.
This next item, I do have Division Manager Eric Santiago to come give a brief presentation on the request.
Eric Santiago, CRA Manager. This is a request to approve a outdoor seasonal lighting display on the 400 and 500 block of Cleveland Street, not to exceed $16,650. CRA staff issued a request for proposals to 7 companies, 3 submitted proposals. This display would enhance the 11 oak trees in the center medians on the 400 and 500 block. This would be a display using large commercial-grade LED light bulbs to enhance the tree canopy. This would be a different display than what we've previously done in past years. The current DDB financial policy does not delegate authority to the CRA director for purchases. After review of 3 quotes from Elite Holiday Decor, Holiday Outdoor Decor, and Decorating Elves, staff is recommending the contractor Decorating Elves for this project. This display in place by November 27th.
Does anyone here from the public desire to speak to agenda item 4.4? Hearing seeing none, is there any board discussion?
Just a quick question. So the new light bulbs are bigger. Those will be in the 400 and the 500 block. But there is going to be some decorations on the 6 to the Myrtle with the lighted wreaths on the poles. Is that correct?
Yes, and that will be the next item on the agenda.
Board member?
I see we're starting on the 27th, and just I'm wondering when that'll come down and what the time frame is during a day. Are they on a timer or when they're being lit?
So the goal is that the installation will be complete by November 27th, and that they'll be on this. We're calling this a seasonal display because it is not going to look like a traditional holiday display, so we can keep it in place for a much longer period of time. So this can remain in place through the winter. We can evaluate the condition and the response to the display to determine when it can come down, but for all intents and purposes, it can remain up through whenever we feel like taking it down.
You know, and are they on timers or?
Yes, they'll be on a timer, so we'll program it when to turn on and turn off.
Thank you.
Any other board discussion? Is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve agenda item 4.4.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Agenda item 4.5.
Eric Santiago, CRA Manager. This is to approve this is to approve a holiday outdoor decor to provide holiday lighting not to exceed $6,954. This is year 3 of a 3-year agreement that is shared with the City of Clearwater, the CRA, and the DDB with the contractor Holiday Outdoor Decor. We are asking the DDB to sponsor the decorations that go on the light poles that extend from Osceola to Myrtle. These are the poinsettia light up decorations that you see on the light poles. And this would be part of the enhancement that is also done with Holiday Outdoor Decor that is done throughout the city. They provide us with the Christmas tree as well as the decorations on Clearwater Beach and into the downtown gateway.
Does anyone here from the public desire to speak to agenda item 4.5?
I'm Mr. Haluba. I don't have a problem with spending, over $26,000 for essentially some Christmas lights. I really don't. I don't know where the money's coming from. Maybe it's coming from the, huge increase in utility fees. could put that on there along with stormwater. Christmas lights, it's a utility. I have a problem that this money's being spent, but there's been some huge foot dragging as far as the arches on Drew Street. I don't think it's right that the citizens have had to come up with a committee to raise money to replace something that really is the city's business.
Yeah, I don't want to interrupt you, and I don't want to eat up your
Well,
time,
you know
but this
what?
is the Downtown Development Board.
Yeah.
It's a special taxing
Okay, well,
district.
then I'll save it
Yeah.
for citizens to be heard. But there needs to be something done about those arches. There's no reason the citizens should have to come up with that money on their own when it's city property. Can have Christmas lights, can have, all these other things it's gonna spend money on, millions of dollars gonna be spent here at the, next meeting. Gonna have a boat back and forth that nobody's gonna ride, but we can't fix the arches.
Does anyone else here desire to speak to agenda item 4.5?
Hi, I'm Tony, longtime no see you, from the 500 block, Preludes, Nash Keys, and Captain's Cigar Lounge, and also here to represent the downtown merchants. I just want to say that I think all these things are a great step forward. I think the city's direction on the events, even now that we have monthly events, even though Halloween was a little bit, it's a first start. It always takes a little bit harder to get started. Trust me, I know when I'm putting on an event, the first one's always the slowest. So it was a good effort. The merchants put on one on Halloween Day. We had a phenomenal turnout. Bunch of kids went there in front of Nash Keys. It's the first time I've seen it like that. We had face paint, we had balloon artists, we had caricatures, families taking pictures of the 500 block, and it was something to be said. The merchants want to do a similar event, kind of jump on board with the city on their lighting event at the end of the month, as well as the last Friday. We're going to try to do something sandwiched in between. We're going to be looking for your guys' helps and working with Chris Cook on this project. But I'm here to say that all the stuff with the lighting, those events, even if we put people down there, we want to make it seem alive. And I know some people might not agree with it, but I think the budget is not only adequate, but I would say for the amount that you need to make downtown the 400 and 500 and the 600 block and the 700 block look alive, I would say that it's affordable and aggressive. I would say to you guys, more would be needed to be able to fund and make the place look alive. But I think, like I said, it's being talked about, the steps are in the right direction, and we appreciate it. And we're going to be looking for your guys' help and guidance to make these events great and really bring back down this downtown that we all believe in. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Does anyone else here from the public desire to speak to agenda item 4.5? Hearing and seeing none, is there any board discussion? If there's none, is there a motion?
Motion to approve agenda item 4.5.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. This time, move to item 6, Chair's Report. I just want to make a comment that, this my first time, obviously, as mayor of a city that's experienced 2 hurricanes, and so I've learned a lot about hurricanes, I've learned a lot about FEMA, I've learned a lot about a lot of things hurricane-related. One thing that's really set on my heart, though, this past couple weeks has been that it's not just folks who have lost property, and my heart breaks for them. The hundreds, if not thousands of folks, definitely throughout the county, but here in Clearwater, who lost personal belongings and their home was severely damaged or sometimes completely lost. My heart breaks for them, and we'll continue to assist them in every way possible. But the impact and the injuries are far broader than that. It's the thousands of our hospitality workers out on the Clearwater Beach who rely on their incomes to support their families. And I also wanted to say in this meeting, it's also our downtown Clearwater, that this storm has impacted our businesses downtown, that we have a number of successful businesses thriving in downtown Clearwater. And it's been very impactful on them too. and their employees. So when I ask the community to support businesses, support tourism businesses, I also ask them to support not just downtown Clearwater businesses throughout the city of Clearwater. We've had a lot of people relocate, evacuate, and not come back since the hurricanes yet, but they will be back. And we need to be mindful, those of us who are still here, to go downtown and to frequent the businesses that are downtown, because they need us more than ever, and their employees need us more than ever. And so I just wanted to share that too, that as a community, I've never been more impressed by the way all of our residents have pulled together. I've seen residents support businesses and businesses support residents. It's been a fascinating and a wonderful thing to witness. But we've got a lot of work still to do to get our families back on their feet, and particularly those waiters and waitresses and servers and cooks and all the folks who support our restaurants. Those employees too are an important part of the fabric of our community, and we need to help them through this difficult time. And I see the community doing that, but we just need to continue to do that and think about our downtown businesses as well as the others who are survivors of these hurricanes and storms. So with that, I'll move to agenda item 7, and invite other board members to share what they might want to share.
I just want to make a clarification. This is the Downtown Development Board meeting, where the revenue and the way we allocate funds remain in that footprint. I just want to remind that. The focus is the revenues come from downtown and must remain in downtown. So it's not about, why are we paying for lighting and not other things. It must remain in downtown. So just wanted to clarify that.
Any other board members to be heard? Okay. With that, I will adjourn the November 4, 2024 meeting of the City of Clearwater Downtown Development Board. And we will take a few-minute recess to switch nameplates and to get ready for the Community Redevelopment Agency. This time I'll call to order the November 4, 2024 meeting of the City of Clearwater Community Redevelopment Agency. This time I'll move to item 2.1 on the agenda.
Approve the minutes of the September 16, 2024 CRA meeting and the September 4, 2024 special CRA meeting.
Any discussion on the minutes? If not, is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve minutes?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Unanimous. Agenda item 3, are there any citizens here today to be heard on items that are not on today's agenda?
I'm Mr. Haluba, and I promise you this is not on the agenda. And I'd really like to address you specifically, Mr. Rector, at this point. Not long ago, you used the word hate in referring to me. If I hate anybody or anything, anywhere, but especially what's going on around here, that's really not in your role as mayor to call me out like that, and I don't appreciate it. I do very much dislike the fact that there's, to my knowledge, never been a statement about the PIT-poor, P-I-T, management of the Clearwater Police by Eric Gandy. I don't understand it. I don't know why none of you has the wherewithal to make a public comment about how poorly that department is managed. Got Slaughter here. It was going on under him too. So what do? Give him another job, let him take his retirement and pay his salary. It's not right. My opinion that Mr. Gandy is not only a disgrace to the Clearwater Police Department, he's a disgrace to greater Clearwater as a whole. That doesn't mean everybody who is a police officer is bad news, but I can tell you from being contacted, there's a lot of them that have no confidence in Gandy. But apparently you all do, because you won't say a word about it. Later, maybe we'll get to hear from Miss Poirier. Then maybe we'll hear from some of you, if not all of you, about what a wonderful person she is and what a great job she's doing. She don't say anything about Gandy or the police department either. That's under her umbrella. Maybe we'll even get to hear, some more individual, non-specific, positive evaluations of Ms. Poirier. I spoke at the raise that she received, and I don't think she deserved it. Something's got to be done about her.
I'll let the record reflect that I don't think any of those comments had anything to do with the Community Redevelopment Agency, but I did give Mr. Haluba great latitude in sharing what he wanted to share. So anyone else who'd like to speak from the public, I just ask that you could address issues relating to the Community Redevelopment Agency. Is there anyone else here from the public desiring to be heard today? Hearing and seeing none, we'll move to item 4.1 on the agenda.
Clearwater Main Library and the Jolly, Councilmember Teixeira and guest speaker Hank Hine.
Good afternoon, everyone. I want to begin by thanking all of you, Board of Trustees and city staff, for allowing me to talk to you today. And the reason I'm here is to talk to you about the library, the very building that we are in right now. It is a beautiful building with a unique exterior design, very large at 90,000 square feet, priceless location, flanked by an award-winning park and amphitheater, feet away from an upcoming hotel, and accessible by water and land. It has an annual operating budget of $3.3 million, and it is underutilized. To quote Mayor Rector, Clearwater is a blank canvas. For me, that's a metaphor for limitless possibilities. It is an opportunity for us to create something special, and I think we are the team to do it. So this library, like any library worldwide, has had to embrace this new world and adapt to an ever-changing environment. A world where I can simply sync with my iPad and have a book at my fingertips within seconds. And so while doing research on how to increase utilization in this library, a lot of the research showed that the fusion of museums and libraries are proven viable options. So according to the American Library Association, the two institutions are naturally suited to collaboration. According to the Urban Libraries Council, studies show positive outcomes from this partnership. These case studies strengthen the notion that both libraries and museums are actively engaged in supporting education, public health, and in increasingly diverse and innovative ways. And according to the Library Journal, sharing resources and expertise can help institutions expand programming capabilities, save money, and most importantly, in regarding to this building, build new audiences. To quote Councilmember Cotton, just show me the numbers. Let's just do that. So the Arts and Economic Prosperity 6 report looked at the economic impacts of spending of the arts and cultural audiences for the fiscal year of 2022. And it showed direct expenditures of a little bit shy of $74 million, supporting over 1,000 jobs, with local government revenue a little bit less than $2.5 million. Now, it is very important to note that these are conservative numbers because there's a lot of data missing, including the amphitheater and several signature events. So the study concluded that arts and culture is more than food for the soul. It also puts food on the table for millions of people across the United States, including the city of Clearwater. When we drill down further, we see that the typical beachgoer spends about $379 per person per day. The arts and culture visitor spends a little bit more, $401 per person per day, but only 33% of those dollars stay in Clearwater. But when we look at the affluent traveler, that bumps up to $423 per person per day, with only half of it being spent in Clearwater. To me, that's an opportunity to offer yet another venue, another destination, so that more of those dollars stay in Clearwater. To quote Vice Mayor Albritton, we've been talking about this for years. And we've certainly talked about it. We've talked about how underutilized this library is, the revitalizing of downtown, adding multiple streams of revenue to complement our ad valorem, adding dimension to our economy and quality of life. So I believe that adding a permanent art museum within this building will accomplish the following. Increase library utilization, very important. A visual arts, which will complement our existing performing arts. More visitors throughout the week. The Baycare Sound and the Capitol Theater do a great job about bringing visitors from our region into our city and into our downtown. But they do so 1 to 3 days a week in a very condensed span of time. Having a venue that brings visitors throughout the day and evening in the week will fill in that gap. Add a destination for beach visitors. When speaking to concierges from the BACA Association or hotel managers, they all say the same thing. By day 4, their visitors are either burned or burned out and are looking for other things to do. This is an added value that we can provide our visitors. Potential partnerships with Ruth Eckerd Hall, the Ferry, and BACA, which is the Bay Area Concierge Association. There have been very exciting, positive conversations with these 3 entities, among others, with partnering with the museum, either a very formal partnership or either just collaborating with branding and marketing opportunities. This will be also a positive economic impact. Museums are considered a great community asset, and successful venues attract and retain small businesses. Now, why am I addressing the CRA? So let me review what the CRA is for those who are not familiar. The Clearwater Community Redevelopment Agency, or the CRA, is a dependent taxing district established by the city government for the purpose of carrying out redevelopment activities to reduce or eliminate blight, improve the tax base, create and retain employment opportunities, and encourage public-private investments in the CRA. Now, if you look at the map, that orange border represents our footprint. And so, again, to reiterate, the funding must come from within that border and must be allocated within that border. Looking at our past downtown CRA initiatives, a lot of it has been focused on forgivable grants for private businesses and property owners. There's been an array of these grants available, but mostly they're only for private businesses and property owners. Some are for exterior renovations, interior, and some are for equipment. Now, in the last few years, there's been 3 big non-starters that have had $2 million allocated to these initiatives. One was an incubator brewery. That never came to light. Another was a sports venue with an AI feature. Again, that never happened. We've also allocated funding to affordable housing, art murals, and pop-up exhibits. Interestingly enough, one of the most successful ones was a 6-month collaboration between this CRA and the Salvador Dali Museum, which was an award-winning and very successful exhibit. Now, like every CRA, we have challenges and we must operate within very narrow guardrails. But we do have very unique, limited opportunities. And that is one of our major challenges. When we look back at that map with the orange border, a lot of those properties are either occupied or owned by institutions, whether it's municipal, county, or the Church of Scientology, and various LLCs. So the opportunities are limited. We can't bring in businesses if there's no spaces available to house them. So the forgivable grants, as wonderful as they are, and I really appreciate the streamlining of them, that has a limited success. We also have to deal with regulatory constraints and limitations. Return on investment is difficult to measure. Limited or short term, which benefit primarily to property owners and private businesses. So I believe it's time to get creative. And I think that we've started that. We've acknowledged the reality, our challenges, lacking of brick and mortar spaces to put our businesses. So the CRA's initiative to put businesses on wheels on our parking spaces deals with our harsh reality, and we're trying to overcome or go around those challenges. So we are going in the right direction. You will also be hearing in the near future of the possibility of a collaboration with St. Pete College, with their School of Business as well as their arts program, having an entrepreneurial program with their students focused on downtown. This is being creative, and we need to continue that. We need to pivot a little bit, and instead of investing on only private properties, let's invest in our city assets like a building like this. Let's create tangible return on investment with public-private partnerships that have proven to be successful. Create additional foot traffic in downtown and a revenue source for Clearwater. To quote in part, Councilmember Menino, our strategic plan defines a vision for our city. So looking over this strategic plan, you will see that it will actually work towards 6 of those objectives: 1.3, 1.5, 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, and 3.3. So in this process of researching this initiative, I reached out to about 55 people, and I did an informal survey via email. And this is going to be included in a handout that I will give you for better reference. But to speed things along, I asked these individuals whether they would support this effort or not, and they had the option of answering yes, no, or not sure. So it shows a great support from a cross-section of our community. The people that were identified were neighborhood and civic leaders, elected officials both past and present, representing municipal, county, as well as state, owners of small and large businesses, and travel industry professionals. And of the response rate, which was in the high 70s, 89% were in support, 3% did not, and 8% were not sure. So, in a nutshell, I believe that exploring this option of having a high-performance museum in this building will check off a lot of boxes. It aligns with the City of Clearwater strategic plan. The data shows increased opportunity, proven track record of art and library collaborations, public-private partnerships that have been successful, efficient use of city and CRA resources by utilizing our own assets, long-term benefit to city asset, increased opportunities for independent businesses, increased enterprise revenue to offset city expenses, community-wide support from diverse stakeholders, and it definitely fills a large void. So I know what you're all wondering, what does she want? And so to put it quite simply, the ask. My ask is to allow the CRA to invest in its own asset and enter into a public-private partnership with a high-performing museum. I'm asking for the CRA trustees to support and direct staff to explore opportunities to house a visual arts museum in the Clearwater Downtown Library. This partnership may include funding, in part, to retrofit a portion of the first floor of the building. Now, just to explain further, what it's going to look like is going to depend on us, the trustees, and the CRA staff. What kind of partnership are we looking at? Is it going to be a profit-sharing module, portion of the ticket sales, or a lease, or a combination of those? What institution do we want? How big of the space are we going to use? Are we going to have a cafe or a gift shop? These are things that we need to explore. But reviewing all the information I presented to you, we do have limitations. We do have challenges. We've had limited success. So I think that the CRA should be pivotal in this initiative. At the very least, explore this option. Now, I'm happy to address any of your comments or questions, but before I do that, if you don't mind, I would like to introduce the Executive Director, Dr. Hank Hines, from the Salvador Dali. I think he'll do a great job in speaking to how a museum can be an asset to a community.
Mr. Mayor, members of the CRA, thank you for letting me come before you today. It's a pleasure to be up here in Clearwater and in such a beautiful building. I spend most of my time in St. Petersburg, of course. I've been the director of the Dali Museum for 22 years. And in that time, we've developed something that really has enhanced our immediate community and the larger community. Because of our activity and the power of Dali's name, we have been a leader in the cultural arts revolution in our county. We are number one in a number of areas, and I would like to modestly describe some of those. We have the preeminent collection of this one artist in the world. It happened by chance, by caprice, but it's an amazing singularity. We're the most visited single artist museum in the United States. We're a prominent destination. As you'll see, most of our area visitors are coming specifically, they say, to see the Dali Museum. And we are very concerned with being a force for our immediate community, as not only economically bringing people in from the outside, but how we can benefit our kids and raise the cultural vibration in our community. We've been a pioneer in a particular niche, and that is artworks and digital experiences. We're the first museum in the world to work with OpenAI in creating interactive exhibitions. And we're a place, because we're very fortunate with this particular artist who has these double images, to show that it takes empathy and imagination to create your vision of the world. And it's a great encouragement to be open, flexible in the way you approach others. So we're a global destination. We've had in the mid-400s prior to the epidemic, and since then in the low 300,000 visitors a year. We have 5 million page views on our website and 500,000 people who follow us regularly. 75% of our visitors are from out of area, that is outside of Pinellas, Hillsborough, and Pasco. 75%. Of those, 54% of those who are staying overnight, and the average as you know, the visitors to Pinellas is somewhere around 3.8 to 4.4 nights per visit for outsiders. 54% of the overnight stayers are staying in St. Petersburg. This is where we've loaned our art around the world, and it has put our particular niche, St. Petersburg, on the global map. Visit St. Pete Clearwater, St. Pete Clearwater Visitors Bureau did an economic study when we applied for money to expand our current building in St. Petersburg, and they showed that somewhere around over a 10-year period, our contribution to the direct contribution for our economic activity over a 10-year period is $1.4 billion, and is expected in terms of a measure they use called total economic impact supported, a much higher number, $3.7 billion over a 10-year period. A little known fact about museums of all kinds is that more people attend museums in the United States on an annual basis than attend in person baseball, basketball, football, mixed martial arts, tennis, all those great sports. More people visit museums than buy tickets to go to sporting events each year. Something like 800 million. I mentioned our interest in digital technologies that create interactive experiences. We find that psychologically being engaged in an interactive experience enhances not only your sense of pleasure and enjoyment in what you're doing, but also your sense of self-esteem. We started in 2014 with the first digital interactive exhibitions, and we have just this year, which is not on our PowerPoint, started something called Ask Dali, in which you pick up a telephone and ask Dali a question. The AI was trained on everything Dali wrote or every recording of his voice and gives you an answer in his manner. So we had a young man asking questions of Dali, and after a sustained period, he got the AI to actually start asking him questions. It was a marvelous experience. AI is moving very rapidly, as you know, and there are going to be great possibilities in entertainment and education for it. We've done surveys of our visitors and the public at large, and we find that 94% of them are interested in digital interactive shows. So it's something that has great legs and promise for the future. We have an innovation lab which teaches some aspects of creative problem solving at the Dali Museum. one of our Innovation Labs attendees said, the Innovation Lab experience at the Dolly was transformative. While other organizations may be doing this type of workshop, the Dolly is unique in both its setting and its facilitators. So thinking of business solutions, the answers to everyday common problems that we all solve from when we get up in the morning and we decide whether we're going to have bacon or eggs, those are creative problems, and we solve them in our innovative manner. And we can improve people's ability to solve problems through some examples in art. We have a lot of student programs, and I think this is what we all care about. We want people coming to our communities. We want them bringing in their resources and enjoying our assets. And we want them to leave the monies that they've brought with us. But at the same time, we want to serve the kids who are coming up in the community. We want them to know that there's something for them, something that adheres them to our community, so when they first get off to college and get an opportunity to be elsewhere, they don't leave us. Year after year, the Dolly has made a huge difference by validating the artistic value and, in reality, the personal value and confidence of many of our students, an attribution from a Pinellas County teacher. We have numerous programs. If you have kids or grandkids in Pinellas schools, in the public schools, you will have had our Dolly Mobile, which teaches mathematics and proportion through art. It visits every elementary school in the county over a 4-year period. So every student has this experience. So that's what we did in St. Petersburg, and at the request of Lena Teixeira, I wanted to give you a sense of what an art museum can do for a community. So thank you for hearing me out, and I would be happy to answer any questions. Seeing none, I will retire. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do I have any questions or comments, my remarks? Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Sorry, that's his job, sorry.
So I'll reiterate, we've been talking about this for a long time, okay? We did talk about this a while back, about getting an interactive dolly, and it kind of just fell flat, I think, because we couldn't follow through with the investment amount. I think they wanted us to do the, I don't know. I don't know exactly what it was. Can you tell me?
So we were looking at different funding options, which that is still open for discussion. I've had those discussions and they continue. But the timing was off because there was other requests in for the same funding sources.
Okay.
So we decided to put it on the back burner until those were resolved. That's what happened.
Yeah, I mean, just for me, Dolly is a great way, especially not just a museum with paintings. They have that down at St. Pete. But an interactive museum here, I think would be really the way to go. And, you know, now that we've got the park open and we've got, you know, the sound and we're bringing a lot of people down, I think it would be something that people would come to. I mean, they would come early and do the museum and, you know, stick around for a show. So
It would be responsive to the trends in the tourism industry, which is the millennials and the Gen Zs are not only looking for a pretty destination, but rather an experience. So having an eye experience added to the park and to the amphitheater would be following those trends for tourism.
Well, I'll make some general comments. First, I've been clear, we taped a thing Friday on the current exhibit that's going on here at the museum, the library, art exhibit. It's just fantastic the way the arts are continuing to thrive and thriving anymore. even more. Our Arts Alliance has done fantastic work already, and I'm excited about some of the things they want to do. Arts are very important to the growth of this community, the success of this community going forward, and I believe the city should embrace that and support that in every way possible. So that's the first thing I'd like to say. Second thing I'd like to say is, I've been clear for a long time, this building is way underutilized. It was built for a purpose that, libraries are just not what they once were as far as even the types of people they service and how they service the community. And so we have a lot of space in this building, which has been well known. It's been part of political campaigns. This was considered by at least one of the prior mayors as a city hall. But it was in recognition that this building really needs to be better utilized, and not just one floor, all floors together. And not that we won't quit using it, we will quit using it as a library, but we need to reinvent the entire building and the entire space and make it more raise it to its highest and best purpose. So I've always felt like, and I was here Friday, I think it was, with Beth and filming this spot for Fox 13. I've always felt like art should be a component of this building in some way. I'm not sure that's the entire building, but I can see that. But there are also a lot of other potential uses for the building that I would like to see us exploring a lot of things, not just the Dolly, but a lot of things.
The option that's being discussed right now is just a portion of the first floor. That's what the discussions are really centered around, just a portion of the first floor, the left side, the west side.
And I think, and Mr. Hine might probably agree, I don't know if he's still here or not, but I don't think he still is. But a lot of the success of the Dolly has been that the city of St. Petersburg has embraced it. But I don't mean the city government, I mean the community. The James family, corporate donors, wealthy folks in the community have really gotten behind it to attract private donations to make that successful. And so I would want to know what kind of support there is here from the Clearwater community that would be somewhat similar to the support that they have for the Dolly in St. Petersburg. Because if we don't have that support here privately, I think that makes it difficult for us to duplicate essentially what's already being done in a city somewhere else in the county. And I know that they, for the expansion of the Dolly, they went to the TDC in 2023 and got additional money, but the commission really wanted to see additional private community support for that project. So for me, it would be contingent upon what the community feel was, not just whether people wanted it, whether or not the community would really get behind it and support it financially if we were going to do that. Because, we're in a spot, and we're probably going to talk about it later today as a council. We're in uncharted territory as far as knowing what our budget's going to be the next couple of years and where we're going to have funds available to move around and do creative things and innovative things with. So that private support from the community is really, really important. And the last thing I just want to say is I love the Dolly. It's fantastic. To his point, it has made a significant difference, not just in the city of St. Petersburg County and our region, but there are other successful museums too in our region. And I want to get into a bidding process among museum operators and ideas. But I've always thought that Clearwater could be known for its own type of art. Doesn't necessarily have to be something that's already existing in the region. And there might be other museum organizations and arts organizations in the region or even outside the region that could bring a similar idea, maybe even a more attractive idea to us. So I would want to see us do that too, is love the Dolly, and they've obviously already been successful in our own county with something. And the prior exhibit you said was interactive, was successful on a smaller scale. But I would want to see what other arts opportunities there are for use of the space as well. So those are just some general ideas I had. And then I think lastly, before I let you go, just the quicker we can kind of get to a specific proposal, that we could see who else might have a similar proposal, I think that would be best.
So to address your comments, we are very aware that this would be a second location, so it would actually be a new experience to supplement the original. But you are right, with my presentation, I intentionally made the request very vague because I do want the Board of Trustees and the CRA staff to look into all possibilities and to come up as a team on what that's going to look like. So my ask today is not specific to Dali. This is just an example of what's out there. My ask is very general and just ask for the trustees to direct the staff to look into our options.
Mr. Dunn.
Just one other thing on it. And again, I love our Clearwater Arts Lights. They are really doing a fantastic job of moving us forward in that area. And so I would really want them to be involved in whatever we do here, to help us understand the opportunities and help us evaluate it. I think their involvement is really important.
I'm a member of the Art Alliance, and I keep them informed every month on the progress of this initiative. And they are in support.
Yeah, Trustee?
Mr. Mayor, thank you. I don't mean to follow up your comments. I was trying to flag you down before, but thank you. Very nice presentation as always, very prepared, and I know you put a lot of time and effort into that, and you're passionate about arts in our community, so thank you for that. The city of Clearwater, we've talked for years that we fall into that 3-day pitfall with our beautiful beach, is that people come downtown, they spend money on our beach in a hotel, but by day 3, before day 4, you're sunburnt, you're over the sun, you're tired of what's out there, you've already hit the restaurants you want to hit, and now what? And one of the reasons we have this beautiful park around us and the sound is how do we continue to build that? How do we keep tourists and vacationers in our city for that day 4, day 5, day 6, day 7? How do we have them book that hotel stay here for that entire week and not spend 3 days here and then the next 2 or 3 in St. Pete or Tampa? We want to keep them here and keep them entertained. We obviously, and this is right in that strategic plan and vision, so thank you for including all of us in your presentation. We are passionate about our libraries in our city of Clearwater. We actually have more libraries in our border of the city of Clearwater per capita than the city of Tampa does. And that's a wonderful thing to say. However, we are in a place and time where our entire country, and the world for that matter, is having to reimagine those spaces and what a library was. You know, as kids, some of us remember the card catalog where you had to go and find, and there was like a witch hunt to find where your book was on the shelf, where kids now get on it and they go right to their book. But they are a big part of our communities, and finding how to reimagine those spaces is a challenge for so many municipalities, and not just us. You have to reimagine those spaces and do it in practical ways, kind of like you discussed. They have to be budget conscious and budget friendly. Show me the numbers, as council member said, and you hit that on the head. That totally makes sense. It does do a lot to a downtown of adding color and growth and flexibility, brings in an entire different crowd that may not be here, that then are visiting our restaurants, our other bars and parks and concerts, so adds a lot to that. The interactive spaces is an awesome opportunity, especially as we continue to grow technologically and advance in society, and how that ties in with our younger generations and how they are very hands-on to that, and not necessarily just opening a book, but opening a laptop or an iPad or putting on an Oculus or something of the sort. So we definitely have to keep going in that direction. I think this is a great idea. As council member said, we've talked about this for a while now, and I think we have as a city, and this is a great opportunity. It is an absolutely beautiful space in a wonderful location, and it is extremely underused. So finding ways to capture that audience, to enhance the beauty. You have my support. I look forward to seeing where this goes forward. Obviously, we need to talk about money and finances and how much and what it looks like and who it is. But I'm in support of it, and I thank you for your presentation today.
Thank you, Lena. Great job. Very informative. I appreciate the differences of beachgoers versus museum people, their return on investment of what they're spending in each area. I do have to agree with the mayor in his comments in regards to after these two hurricanes, where our budget is. And I understand that this is specific to the Downtown Development Board and a separate taxing district. And I'm in complete agreement with something needs to be here. If it's the Dolly, great. Looking to open that door and allow staff to see what would be the best fit is going to be huge. Because I also have to point out to what the mayor alluded to in our last meeting, you know, our restaurant industry is hurting, and I think that this is just one of many catalysts that could propel us into what we could see our downtown in the next 50 years, right? I think that that's what we have to look at is how do we get people, not just to our beautiful beach, but also to invest and enjoy our downtown area. And this is just one of those new wheels in the cog that we don't have that I think would be very beneficial to us and to our downtown businesses and quite frankly, all the residents and businesses in Clearwater. So I also support the idea of staff trying to bring us something and some good ideas for some fresh perspective. I agree this is a building that probably can be utilized a much better way. And I look forward to seeing what those ways are. So thank you very much, and
Thank you.
I appreciate
I
it.
also want to take a moment to thank all the downtown business owners here who have been great at communicating with me some of their challenges. And I agree with Mayor Rector, we have to get healthy again. We have to get strong and move past that. And that includes, you know, employing our citizens and having a venue or a destination that has that foot traffic throughout the day and evening and throughout the week is something that all these business owners have consistently told me they need. They can't just survive on 1 or 3 concerts a week. So I just wanted to thank everyone who came here in support.
City Attorney?
Thank you, Mayor. Just one comment to make on the library. So Clearwater, like several cities, has some unique restrictions relating to land use, and some cities have very different restrictions than others. Clearwater does have provisions in our charter regarding land use that is located particularly on the waterfront, anything west of Osceola Avenue. That is why we had to go off a referendum when it came to Gotham, because it was not otherwise allowed until voters approved it. There are provisions built into our city charter regarding the main library specifically. So the main library is treated differently than the parcels for which we had to go off a referendum with Gotham. However, it is not unlimited in terms of the options. So as written today, the charter allows the main library to be leased out. So we would not be able to sell the library as an asset, but we could lease it out. It is, however, restricted in terms of what we could lease it for. There are significant range of uses contemplated in the charter as it stands today. Art galleries are one of them. So certainly if the council was interested in moving forward either with the Dali or with some other provider within the art gallery space, it would be my opinion that that is permissible within the existing charter. Other examples that are permissible in the existing charter for the library include cafes, restaurant, and similar commercial uses as stated. For example, I don't think we could build a hotel in here. That probably would not be viable anyway, but in any event would probably not be compatible with the charter as written. So just keep in mind as the council considers our options, there are a range of options available, but it is a range and it is defined unless the city wants to go out for a referendum, which would expand the universe of options available. Just wanted to mention that.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for the presentation. City Manager.
Yeah, so I just want to make sure, because this is an item requiring direction. As you know, per our council rules, any direction that takes more than 8 hours has to be provided from the dais. And so this would obviously take more than 8 hours of staff time. And so I just want to make sure, it seems like we do have direction to move forward, but that is the direction that we've been provided.
Well, yeah, I don't know what the exact direction is. Is it to negotiate with the Dali, or is it to, because back to my earlier comments, I've had these conversations. I'd like to see an analysis of the entire building.
That's the ask.
Just not just this, but are we fully utilizing this space, and how can the CRA maybe help us better utilize this space? that would be what I would test it with, my direction would be. What,
Sure, well,
this and other ideas, it wouldn't just be limited to
What, the direction is whatever council wants it to be, so.
that would be my direction is,
Are you talking about it like putting an RFP out for something?
well, no, I think we're just talking about directing staff to spend time just doing an assessment of the entire building to what
Like for best
areas
use,
could be. You know, it's
with
this,
what's
or-
allowed per the charter.
You don't want to, so you're only comfortable asking the staff for best use, not anything specific? Looking into, let's say, museums, since it has been approvable
Museums
one?
would be one of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Go ahead, sir.
okay, so I can remember back probably before Lena was here that we were talking about things we could do with the library. And we were talking about dedicating money to remodeling the library. And it started out about 6 million, and then it kept going skyward until we said it's, I remember we had one council meeting that we said, we got something back from the contractor saying, well, we're gonna eliminate something to make it a little more cost effective, and it ended up being more than before they eliminated it. So I think the whole thing just came to a screeching halt, which probably wouldn't be a bad idea. But one of the things that they were doing, and this is just for council, I guess, my memory of what we were gonna do is change the direction of the entrance of the library. Instead of being where it is now, move it over toward the west, because we were anticipating the sound and a redo to the park. So we thought it'd be better to put the main entrance kind of directed, coming from that direction right there. And in that remodel was, and these were ideas that were brought forth to us at the time, the council. We were going to have a big glassed-in area, and then we were going to have something like a stage in there where somebody could play, and then have a museum in back of it, so you could actually see some of that as you were walking in. It was pretty spectacular, I thought, but the costs kept spiraling upward and upward and upward, and we finally just said no. Another big cost was the redo of the upstairs that's never been used. And they were going to put elevators and things, and then because of the structure of the roof, that was the part that they said, well, we're going to eliminate that and make the cost a little bit better. And then when they looked at the total cost, it was actually more, and it was like kind of ridiculous. So I think we've, in the past, as we do so well in Clearwater, we talk about things and really don't really set forward. When we do make a decision and step forward, some of the things are really impressive, like what we have down here now on the sound and then the park. But this is something we've been talking about a very long time, is activating this location. And I can tell you, one of the activations was putting City Hall here, which I was against, because that's not an activation in my opinion. This needs to be something like a museum, or something with a little cafe, or something people get coffee. Those kind of things are activating. And we have now, with the park open, it's a perfect time to really be serious about this now, because it's not all conceptual, it's here, it's done. So I'm fine with, I don't know if some of you can remember when the CRA actually funded the Dali to come in with their AI exhibit over across the street at the, and it was a small little thing, but it went on for 6 months, and God, a lot of people went in there. And I went in there, and you put on this goggles, and you actually went through his paintings, and it was amazing. That's the kind of thing that I see could be expanded here, because it really got the it was really well received. And, 6 months, they didn't renew it, and, but the Dali has much more impressive things, I think, that would attract a bigger scale of people than some of the other ideas I heard, like Beatles Museum and, things like that weren't quite up to par. So I understand what you're saying, that we don't have to limit it to the Dali, but I think we had an opportunity to get a first-class museum in here like the Dali, and not just a painting museum, but an interactive museum. I see that, in my mind, I see that as really a good direction to go in. I don't know what else there is out there. I don't know if you'd have to do an RFP to see what else, what other kinds of things are there, but,
Thank you, Vice Mayor. That's a good question. I'm glad you brought that up. So generally speaking, when there's property within the redevelopment area, which does include the library, we do have to advertise the opportunity. Now, the CRA as a board has very broad discretion in terms of who you want to partner with, what are the details of that partnership, et cetera. But the opportunity itself, prior to council finalizing any decisions, would have to be advertised, because you don't know what's out there. And the idea behind the statute, is that there should be other opportunities for other partners to come in. They might come up with some amazing idea you've never even thought about, never even heard of. It also creates an element of competition so that you don't feel like you're held captive by one partner. So the gist of it is, I do believe by statute, prior to finalizing an arrangement with any partner within the redevelopment area, it will have to be advertised for 30 days, but there's an enormous amount of discretion within that realm. So for example, if the council decides that you're interested in having art galleries, cafes, restaurants, et cetera, or something in that realm, the city staff or CRA staff could put together a solicitation and publish that for 30 days, 60 days, whatever time period you're willing to do, although it must be at least 30 days, and then see what responses you get. I assume that we'll get some response from the Dali, given the fact that Mr. Hine came in and spoke with the council today. What other opportunities or what other responses you get, I have no idea. I certainly think there probably should be some legwork on a staff level, reaching out, right? I think there's going to have to be some proactive, aspect of this, because it's not traditional construction in the sense. You don't have contractors just monitoring open bid sites on government procurement sites to see, well, I'm going to put in new flooring or new repeatable work like that. This is something where you need a development partner, and so that typically is a much more hands-on process where you have to really cultivate that relationship and reach out to them. So to answer the Vice Mayor's question, yes, it would have to be competitively solicited for a period of at least 30 days, but ultimately the CRA would decide what responses you're happy with, and the CRA and the city would as well, just like we did for Gotham. As Vice Mayor will recall, having been here for the Gotham process, the solicitation that was issued ultimately resulted in 3 responses, all 3 of which were very good. We got 3 excellent responses from 3 very credible developers for both the Harborview site and the Old City Hall site. For those parcels, the way we phrased the solicitation, if memory serves, was very broad, because we knew that no matter what the response, whether it was a hotel, whether it was apartments, we knew we were going to have to go off a referendum no matter what. So in that instance, the strategic decision was to let the market decide what uses they wanted to put there. Here, it's a little bit more difficult, because you have restrictions in the city charter already, and so as the council or the CRA, you'll have to decide as a threshold matter whether you would be willing to go out for a referendum or not. If the answer is yes, then theoretically your options are unlimited in terms of what you could do with this space. If the answer is no, and we want to operate within our existing charter, then you are limited to art galleries, cafes, and some other compatible uses. So that would be an important strategic question for the city.
I'm going in a second, but I think that was my point, was not to propose anything outside the charter,
Yeah.
but just to gather
Agreed.
all kinds of ideas within for alternative uses of this building. all kinds of ideas from all folks, to make it a little bit of a competitive type thing. If there are other museums or other nonprofits that have an idea, or maybe for-profits, but within the bounds of the charter, that's, I'd just like to see a little broader than just the Dolly.
So my question to the city manager would be, since we're doing this through the CRA, this would be CRA staff that would put this together for an advertisement for something?
What I think we would do, depending on the direction that we get here, would be to come up with, the staff would talk about a plan in terms of how do we do whatever the direction is that the council provides. And then we would, at the next CRA meeting, present that plan to see if that has accomplished what the council has asked for. So I don't want to commit to a process yet without exactly knowing what the direction is, and also without talking to the team. But it sounds similar to what they did on the North Greenwood CRA as it related to the container mall village. But that was a specific request, and they did a proposal relating to that and have gotten responses. That just closed just recently. So there's options there for sure for us to explore, but I need to get the direction first, and then we'll come up with a process, make that plan, and present that plan to council to make sure that we've accomplished what you asked us to.
Councilmember?
Yeah, for clarity and direction, I support staff exploring opportunities of a public-private partnership that falls within the realm of our current charter, not outside of it, and finding some sort of experience that we can present here in the library, whether it be museum or museum-like, that goes hand in hand, but that's the direction I would go.
I would agree with that statement that Councilmember Manito just made, and the fact that I don't think we're trying to add more competition to our restaurants. So in regards to land use, the portion that pointed out cafes, restaurants, I would probably nix that idea. We're trying to bring something else to our visitors that come to our beaches to enjoy in Clearwater. So looking around the art galleries or a similar commercial space is where I would think that you, Mr. Mayor, are kind of leaning to as well. So that would be similar to what you just said, but eliminating the cafes or restaurants.
Yeah, but I mean, like Dolly, they have a coffee counter.
Well, I think that can go inside that,
Right.
Not
absolutely.
a full
Yes.
seating restaurant.
No,
Yeah.
for sure.
For sure, absolutely.
It's part of the experience.
Yeah,
Yes,
nothing like
no,
that.
I'm not saying no cafes,
Yeah,
period.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm good with
exactly.
that.
I'm good with that too.
Around?
So centered around museums,
Yeah.
because they have been proven to be a good cohesive with the
Yeah.
library, okay.
Hold on, before we move on, I just want to make sure, is that the direction? Because
No,
that's,
alternative uses, I mean, like the arts events, I've had conversations with them about maybe performing arts is our niche. Maybe it's not visual arts. Maybe what we're known for is the performing arts. And we already have the sound across the way. I mean, I think arts and culture alternative uses, I would agree with that, but a museum, in the traditional thought of a museum, I don't know that that's necessarily,
And
I
I
don't
don't
know if
even,
that helps us, because there may be an idea that we're not thinking about yet, because nobody's.
I don't think this Dolly is a traditional museum. It's an AI interactive
Right,
thing,
yeah.
so.
It was an
I'd be-
experience.
Yes, it's an experience. So I agree with the mayor that we keep it open, because there may be things that we're not even thinking of that could be conducive.
But it must
I
focus
think we have to be
on-
specific,
yeah,
sorry.
Yeah,
So it's either we're looking for some type of a museum experience outside of what's already found in Pinellas County would give, I think, better guidance. What
The ask
would that-
says it says a visual
Visual arts museum.
Yes.
And I think that's kind of broad if we're.
it fills a void, it's proven successful, and more importantly, consistent foot traffic. Performing arts has events that are very specific in time frame. And what I'm hearing from my business owners over there is that we need people here all day, every day, all week long, not just performing. We already have Capitol Theater and the amphitheater, so I understand looking at all our options. I just don't want to be overwhelmed with all these. I really like the way he said it, the way Councilmember Benito said it. You were that was a good, I think, explanation of the direction that I would lean for.
Instead of museum, I would say arts and cultural experience.
Right.
And And there may be more than just whatever the Dolly is. We have probably quite a bit of space if we rethought it here in this building, so it could be a combination of things. Could be multiple things that we are interested in. So that's what I would be okay with arts and culture experience.
Okay.
Yes, consensus?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, and we'll work with the legal department to make sure that whatever it is that we advertise is not in conflict with what the charter says is an acceptable use.
And I did want to put something in the record, if I may. It's nothing very substantial, but just to make it also clear, if there's any expenditure of CRA increment funds, then it's going to have to be in alignment with our community redevelopment area plan. And I did look into the arts and so forth for the library, and I think it is doable within our plan. Obviously, we'd also look at the statute. Legal would also look at chapter 163.370 as far as the administrative buildings that are for public bodies, administrative buildings. You may require the permission, or not the permission, but basically the buy-in of other taxing authorities. But we'll do our homework for you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
That will move to item 4.2 on the agenda.
Business Spotlight Program.
I wanted to bring up Julia.
Hi, good afternoon. Julie Baltus, CRA Specialist. On June 17th, 2024, the Community Redevelopment Agency trustees approved the Business Spotlight Program with the intent to showcase the unique and impactful businesses within our downtown redevelopment boundary area. The program celebrates those businesses that not only contribute economically, but also engage deeply within our community. The CRA received a total of 19 outstanding applications from businesses across various industries, all eager to showcase their contributions. After careful and thorough review of each application, our committee convened and finalized the selection of the top 8 businesses. These 8 businesses were chosen based on their community involvement, innovation, and overall impact they had on the lives of people around them. Each of these businesses has not only found success, but has also made an enduring commitment to improving the lives of people in our community. We are proud to recognize their hard work, dedication, and community spirit today. It is with great excitement that I announce the top 8 business winners of this year's Business Spotlight Program. Ice Cold Air Discount Auto Repair, Bay Area Insurance Shop, Inc., Riff Fitness, Restoration Cafe, Clear Sky on Cleveland, Clearwater Closet, Consumer Energy Solutions, Inc., Chiang Thai, and Sushi Bar. Please join me in congratulating our winners, and let's continue to support and celebrate the businesses that make our community thrive from Bay to Beach.
Would any one of you like to come up here and just share a few words? We are on a tight schedule today because we have to be out by 4:45 to prepare for the election tomorrow. But Scott, you or somebody, or Dan, you want to come up and just say a word?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for your time today. I just want to, as the owner of Chiang Mai Thai and Sushi Bar, in which we've been in business for almost 18 years now, I just want to thank you for your commitment to downtown, and especially Julia in making this process as painless and pain-free as possible. I was actually sitting in our fancy new cafe furniture that we got approved for last night with my wife, and she was enjoying the ambiance along with all the customers outside, and she says, "Oh man, this is beautiful." And I told her how amazingly simple it was, and she says, "Oh, that's great. Where was this 6 months ago when they first brought it up to you?" And I said, "Sorry, I can only promise that the next grant, wink wink, will be much more faster on my part." So thank you very much, and I appreciate your investment into us and into downtown.
Hello, I'm Oriana from Consumer Energy Solutions. We have been very heavily a part of the Clearwater area, our downtown district, with literacy for children, drug prevention, also including children, community outreach for the homeless and a ton of Clearwater activities that we love to be a part of and we love to interact. And I was so happy to see this business spotlight program because I think it's an amazing way for the businesses to interact with the city and the city back to the businesses and just get on a platform where we're really amping up and coming together, especially with all of the redevelopment we've been doing with the Sound and the amphitheater, Cleveland Street District, and all those businesses. I think it's amazing. It opens our eyes up to even more opportunities with the city and the city with us. So we're just really happy to have been selected for this program. Thank you, guys.
Michelle Horowitz with Bay Area Insurance Shop. As a member of the City of Clearwater in business for 28 years, I want to thank you for the opportunity to be here and to be a spotlight business. I have been very encouraged by the redevelopment of Clearwater. In 28 years I've been here, I've seen a lot of redevelopment, and it's just very encouraging to see your support and have your support, and I just want to thank you for that.
I'd like to thank the city for their past support. We're almost over 8 years downtown. And when we first moved there, it was quite, my partner and I, Frenchie, Michael Preston, it was quite a reach, so to speak. And it's been quite interesting, you know, between COVID and everything else. So, and now with our other issues going on. But we look forward to working with the city going forward in so many different directions. There's so many opportunities that we haven't taken advantage of it yet. But now I see a lot of new faces here, and hopefully we can get a lot more accomplished over the course of the next few years. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Austin Summers. Hello, council members, mayor. I don't have a speech or anything. I just wanted to say how excited my partner V and I, we own Clearwater Closet. We're just super excited to be a part of this whole selection process, and we're honestly surprised to get selected, but we do all local art, upcycle clothing. As you can tell by this shirt, this was made by one of our artists who hand painted or hand dyed this. So we're just really excited to see how Clearwater develops with our store being over on Chestnut Street. And I'm definitely excited with the presentation today that you had with seeing arts develop in our community. So thank you.
Anyone else? I just want to thank you all for coming today. Obviously, you're very important to the city of Clearwater and the success of your business and helping Clearwater thrive as a whole. And I want to thank our staff for engaging with you. I've really been impressed with the way the city staff and the CRA staff has engaged with our businesses one-on-one to really try to help you figure it out and try to build community support for your businesses. At the end of the day, whether or not the city supports you is not nearly as important as whether or not the community supports you. They come down there and they frequent your businesses and they support you with their money and use your services and eat at your restaurants. And so I see that happening quite a bit, and I know even in a downturn or a difficult time, folks still come out to help you out, and glad to see that that's happening and hope that it continues, and certainly 5 of us will encourage the community to continue to do that. But you're so important, and all of you are already been successful. We want to do all we can on behalf of the city of Clearwater to help you continue to be successful. So congratulations for participating in this program, and we see you as our partners in making Clearwater better than ever. So thank you for being here today. With that, we'll move to item 4.3 on the agenda.
Approve a North Greenwood commercial grant for St. Joseph's Holding LLC located at 1125 Eldridge Street, Clearwater, Florida, 33767, in amount not to exceed $75,000, and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same.
Thank you. Staff is very proud that we're working with a lot of different commercial property owners over in the North Greenwood redevelopment area was our new commercial grant we have there. This is the first one, and we're hoping to bring a lot more to you in the near future. Hopefully, we have another one in December for you. But this one is in particular for the parent company, which is Yo Mama's Foods Company. So the grant is under the St. Joseph's Holding LLC, which is located at 1125 Eldridge Street. With that, staff is recommending approval for this particular grant of up to $75,000. This is for physical improvements that are basically there with the building to improve the aesthetics of the building. In addition, we do have the applicant here, just in case you have any questions, of Mr. David Habib-Beck. Staff is recommending approval.
This time, is there anyone here from the public that desires to speak to agenda item 4.3? Seeing none, is there any trustee discussion? If none, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve agenda item 4.3.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Okay. Agenda item 4.4.
Downtown core vacancy update.
Thank you, and I do want to acknowledge that we do have an error there on their agenda. This item, moving forward, is always going to be called Downtown Revitalization, but for some reason they had the title that's on your agenda right now. But moving forward, it's always Downtown Revitalization. Again, Jesus Nino, CRA Executive Director. During the August 12th CRA trustee meeting, you asked staff to provide an update on our outreach efforts to the downtown core, vacant and unoccupied property owners. Our staff has done that. In addition, since that time, the business response team that we put together in the CRA department, they have been out there very aggressively, meeting with property owners, meeting with some tenants and so forth. And we also did mail letters to 9 property owners that do represent 72 properties. And we have also called many of them and emailed them, like I stated before, with any contact information that we had on our files. As a result, the business response team was able to speak to many of those property owners that represent 52 properties. And yet we have not received any response from other property owners that represent 27 other properties out there, but we're still trying, and we're going to continue those efforts. In addition, the downtown business response team has continued wellness visits to property owners in the 400 block, 500 block, and 600, and pretty much the entire CRA downtown core, and we're going to continue those efforts. For instance, we do have a public meeting. It's more of a staff meeting with the downtown core property owners on November the 13th at Nash Keys to continue those discussions with those tenants. At the last CRA meeting, we were also asked to produce a list of all properties, vacant properties in the downtown core. We have accomplished that task, and we're also doing other bigger tasks for citywide, but this particular one is just for the downtown core. And I have assigned Mr. Phil Kirkpatrick to basically take on this task and work with the city's GIS team to put together a presentation here on our GIS system, and I'm going to bring him up to do that.
Hi, I'm Phil Kirkpatrick with Economic Development and Housing. I think some of you may not know my background. I thought I'd offer just a quick snippet. I had 35 years of commercial private real estate development experience before joining this city. First, I want to thank the GIS group at Public Works and the IT department for both creating and refining and posting this presentation. It's on the intranet for the city of Clearwater. It's hopeful that it'll be valuable to council and others in the city to visualize our real property situation, so it's a graphic representation. It focuses primarily on vacancy, current uses, and city ownership. There are some other layers as well. Before I go into it, there's a disclaimer, because it's not going to interpret quite the way one might expect. The data is from the Pinellas County Property Appraiser's Office. They categorize property a bit differently than I would as a commercial former commercial real estate developer. The zoning or permitted uses are not on this layer. Instead, it's the actual uses, because that's a property appraiser type approach to looking at property. The other piece is multifamily property in the world of commercial real estate would normally be categorized as multifamily would be commercial. But for the purpose of this, it's labeled as residential because I think that's the function primarily that the council wanted to see it as. The last is that always keep in mind data is a snapshot in time. Commercial real estate changes all the time. People buy properties, change uses. So please keep that in mind. A couple of other qualifiers. Sorry for all this disclaimer. The vacant properties, as listed by the property appraiser's office, include vacant land, but also has parking lots and some parks in it. So you'll see some inconsistencies there. We can look at them and talk about that. There are city-owned properties, which I think is self-explanatory. But of the city-owned properties, there are 3 primary sites that consist of 7 vacant parcels. One is in the southwestern quadrant of Drew Street and Myrtle. There are 5 or 6 parcels that are in that location, one of which is owned by the city. So it's surrounded by other vacant parcels. There are, on Pierce Street, on the south side, there are 4 parcels. I count that as one site. It's the former CMA location. And then I call it one site, but it's actually 2. It's the Gotham Group D'Annunzio properties. But everything else, that's all that the city owns within the downtown core. In terms of current property use, commercial in this will refer to retail, commercial, office, industrial, hotels, motels. Anything would be, call it non-residential. As well as one further is institutional, which would be governmental, religious. In some cases, parks will be identified differently than vacant land, so parks will be in there, healthcare, and the like. And so, with this, does it need to be turned on? No, there it is. So if I turn on the vacant properties layer, you can see within this, focusing on the downtown core primarily, and I'll try not to be too jerky with this. There's CRA vacant properties that are outlined in yellow, just generally vacant without an ownership designation. Mm-hmm. And then surrounded with green are the future county properties that will be vacant. So at any point, feel free to jump in, ask a question. I will change what I'm doing at that point.
So we have a question, Vice Mayor.
Yes, sir.
So you're talking about the county properties, courthouse and so forth?
Yes, sir.
What is the approximate acreage on that?
I don't have that in my head. My guess it's between, my educated guess it's between 10 and 20, but I can give you that exact number.
Yeah, just if
I'll
you
be
can,
glad
just
to.
let me know what that is.
Okay, I'll be glad to. I didn't anticipate that question. Current property uses is a much broader look. And again, at this point, just call it focusing on the downtown core. Institutional are those, again, religious, government and otherwise, are noted as this sort of gold, how does it come out, gold, color. And there's quite a bit in downtown. But you can see overwhelmingly the gray is the commercial. And there's a lot of commercial in downtown that's available. Residential is the light gray, so you can see that. This, by the way, will also be accessible to council members on the internet on SharePoint. city-owned properties. As you can see, the green are parks. Let me open up the legend. The vacant parcels, this is the parcel in the area I mentioned of southwestern quadrant of Drew and Myrtle Street that's surrounded by other vacants. These are the Pierce Street properties I mentioned. And this is, this one I believe is mislabeled. It's actually not vacant. It's a parking lot that's adjacent to the police station. So those are some of the inconsistencies. And for what it's worth, if it seems a little less than perfect, there are over 62,500 parcels in the city of Clearwater. So it's a lot to try to get this into a simple presentation. So GIS at Public Works did a wonderful job getting that done for us. The largest single landholder, as you can see, is the Church of Scientology, and these are their properties in the downtown area. So are there any questions? I can go into greater detail. Yes, sir.
Okay, so when you say the Church of Scientology, that's the church itself, not the...
Church itself.
The people that are members of the church that own property themselves?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's correct.
I think I missed it. Where are all the vacancies on Cleveland Street? I was looking for it. At one slide, it was like a purple stripes, and I didn't see it. I know for a fact the 600 block is all vacant except for 2 spots, of which will be emptying the next month. So, but I missed it somehow. Where are all the vacancies on Cleveland Street?
You did miss it, but not because it's not on there.
Okay.
And the reason is, it was a huge challenge to try to plot that, and let me explain why. And a perfect example, 600 Cleveland Street. There are perhaps, I don't remember the count, 20 tenants in that building, and there are probably, depending on how you divide that building up to 10 possible slots. We got a graphic representation that's just virtually, well, let's just say it's impossible to show it in a graphic manner. So that's why it's not on here. Anyhow, that's why it's not on there. And that's true as you go all through Cleveland Street. Not all, but almost all of Cleveland Street's what I call multi-tenant properties. So they are not included in that. We have separate data on that.
Okay.
And it's important to know when we look at data, again, commercial real estate's a very dynamic business. And by that, I mean the data is dynamic and changing. There are, we have mapped, we have walked the downtown area and surveyed everything that was accessible to figure out what was available and what's not available. We have a different data report on that.
Yeah, so just to summarize, the council provided some direction for the CRA team to compile information as it related to vacant buildings in the downtown core. And so what's being presented today is a visualization of the completion of that project. So they have walked it and have identified all the vacant properties that are located within the downtown core. The second component to that was, the direction provided by council, was to reach out and get a plan from all of those owners to see what they're looking to do with those properties moving forward. That has also been completed. They have reached out to every single one of those property owners. This is an ongoing project. It was just an update. Wanted to get you a visualization in terms of what they have completed. And they will continue. This is a repeating item that's on the CRA agenda to provide updates as they hear back from the businesses. So I believe Director Jesus Nino reported that they've reached out and the percentage that they've heard back from. As time passes, they will make second attempts to do that, and also we'll continue to have engaging meetings and whatnot, and then report back on that. So this was just an opportunity to provide a visualization of what has been completed, which is identifying all the vacant properties in downtown, who owns them, and reaching out with them to see what their plans are, and if there's anything the CRA team can help do to bring those plans to fruition.
Thank you and staff for the obvious, this is very time consuming. I guess, so if I'm understanding this correctly, at a later time, we'll get more depth on this, but my interest is on the communication side. And I understand 52 properties responded, 27 didn't. Are of those 27 non-responding properties, are they one specific property owner? Are they?
Out of those 27 properties, it's 6 property owners.
6 property owners. And then, can I?
Yeah, go ahead.
And then what we're asking of them is what their plans are, what their future looks like with this parcel and?
Yes.
Okay, and then, of the 52, will we see a report of property X and this is what their plans are and this is a time frame? I mean,
If they provide their plans, then we'll report that. If they don't, then we're still building those relationships with them and trying to obtain any kind of plans they may have, or if we can even assist them with development or anything like that.
okay, and then like with properties, like the bank building, like World Worth building, like the telephone company building, do we have an idea internally on how long this process should take on the building side? What we're looking at as far as bringing in businesses, not bringing in businesses, type of businesses? Are we getting that type of communication in this process as well?
Yes, we're literally asking as many questions as we can on what their intentions are, and also trying to educate them on our process if they need those type of education and any programs we may have, and just a conversation with them.
Thank you. So that dialogue, we will see at a later time in a different presentation, or we'll receive?
We can put together a report for you.
Perfect. Thank you. Appreciate you.
But I'll weigh in. I'm going to do a letter to all of them, those who have responded and those who have not, asking them to participate in the restoration of our city from 2 storms. And this is not just a downtown effort. We're starting here, but it's going to be citywide to try to revitalize the entire city, not just downtown. We're just starting downtown because that's where we've gotten, a lot of folks know we have a lot of vacant, underutilized properties downtown. So we're only starting here. I'm going to do a letter for these folks to everyone who's responded, thanking them for having responded and encouraging those who have not to respond. To just let them know the community needs them to give attention to their properties. Now, probably more than ever in the history of the city. So that's one thing. The second thing is, it's not just reaching out, hey, what's your plan? Pushing, nudging. It's what Jesus said, offering help. How can we help you? Can we put you in touch with developers that have indicated interest in doing something in Clearwater? Can we connect you with resources, grants, incentives, county, state, whatever that might help you? We're offering a lending hand, much like the businesses came in earlier with the business spotlight. CRA is doing a good job of reaching out and saying, how can we provide resources to help you do whatever you want to do to revitalize your property? When it comes around to the reporting back, hey, what are your plans? My experience is that may be a little much. If you're a private property owner or business owner, you don't necessarily want to make your business aspirations or whoever you're talking with public record. So I don't think we're probably going to get a lot of folks going to say, hey, here's my plan, here's what I'm doing. I don't think that's our expectation. This was partly my idea. Others had the idea too. But when I was sworn in, when 2 of you were sworn in too, I just didn't get a good feel like we knew as a city what, other than reading stories in the Tampa Bay Times, what our reality was. What specifically are the properties that need to be revitalized? Which ones aren't? Who owns them? There's a lot of news stories on, particularly downtown, who owns, who does what. But have we really verified that? Do we really know who the owner of that particular property is? Some properties, we all know, probably have more potential than others, just because of where they're located. And so it was first just to assess the inventory and to really, as Councilmember Teixeira said in our prior presentation on arts and culture, to understand, see the entire city as a blank canvas, and to know what that canvas looks like to start with. And so they've done a great job in getting us to this point, at least for the downtown core. The second thing, I think, is what they're already doing, that's reaching out, saying, what can we do? You know, we're obviously, and you've pointed out earlier, we're not really in a position right now to be passing out money ourselves, but that doesn't mean we can't connect folks who have interest with resources who do have some money to involve, public-private partnerships or whatever. So I think that's the next step. But I did want to, I want to just caution everybody that I don't know what kind of feedback, detailed feedback we can expect. Because if you're a private business owner, you don't necessarily want to lay all your cards into the public record on what your plans are specifically. But hopefully this creates a dialogue where it's not going to be every property, but at least there are some properties where, great, if you could connect me with them, wow, that would be fantastic. That we just want to know who wants our help and who doesn't. And if they tell us they're not interested in our help, then we'll note that and we'll move on to those who do want help. But to at least offer it and see who's open to it or not and have that response back, I think is valuable to us. Councilmember Patton.
Yeah, so I think that there's just a tactful way of going about that, right? It's all about how the CRA staff is approaching the business with their question. I'm sure you guys are doing it the right way, right? I think that you can say something to the effect of like, whatever your plans may be coming forward, we have a multitude of financial grants we may be able to assist you with, so we're wondering what your plans are. Not necessarily just like trying to pry open the cookie jar to see what future plans are, because I'll be 100% honest. I'm a private business owner and you ask me that, yeah, I'm not telling you. It's not the government's need to know, right? But if you're getting with, in the right delivery, saying, hey, we're trying to see what your plans are because you may qualify for something you just don't know you qualify for. And then you can just build that rapport going that way. And it could be something vague response, like, oh, we're gonna maybe open a restaurant or a kitchen. Great, these are the qualifying programs from the city or state that you may qualify for. So I kind of see the flip side of both coins on that. So that's just my take on how you guys are delivering that.
Yeah, City Manager.
And then also to piggyback off of that, you know, we are inviting for those that have plans and want to share those plans to come to this meeting and provide updates to that as well. And so the county is going to be coming and/or, you know, their representative at our next council meeting to do a presentation on the county properties. And we're making those opportunities available to come in and do presentations about their plans for anybody who is ready to do so. So that is a second component, again, in that friendly, inviting, let us know what you're doing so we can create some excitement about it. And also to make sure that we're, you know, sharing resources and connecting people to what the need is out there. So it is a multifaceted, this was just meant to be one component to share that the staff did respond to the council request of creating the list. They have a visual presentation. We can send you the link to this and give you a quick tutorial on how to play with it. It is an internal services option for you all to be able to do that. And then let you know that we have made contact with everybody and we're going to continue to follow up with that.
If I may, one more thing, if I may, Chair. This is a partnership with economic development and the CRA. You know, what we do blends a lot as far as what we do. So our push forward is to be as business friendly as possible with all property owners, all business owners out there, and to just kind of extend our hand out there to kind of shake it and see, you know, if we can build those relationships and just work with them. And yes, we do ask as far as they have any plans or anything like that, but it's not like the only thing we ask. We're out there to do business recruitment, business retention, expansion, and everything the CRA does and DDB does. And we're just out there to be kind of ombudsman, to connect them to different departments if they need that, and just to have that olive branch out there and let them know that we're here to serve them.
And again, you know, to your point, when you started on rephrasing this agenda item, it's a positive approach. We're reaching out all property owners.
Correct.
no matter who you are, how big, small, whatever, to see how we can help you make your property better, you more successful, and our community more vibrant as a whole. It's a positive outreach to the entire community, property owners throughout the community, to see how we can help them, help the city succeed. So that's all it is. So appreciate you rephrasing this agenda item in a more positive way, because that's really all it is.
For what it's worth, I spend the majority of my time, call it networking. I don't want that to be minimized. I meet with developers, including Hines, Trammell Crow, the largest in the country. I meet with design professionals. The reality is most opportunities come by, I'll call it a lightning strike, but it's a focused lightning strike because you've worked at building those relationships. So that's where I spend the vast majority of my time, just so you know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, thank you. With that, move to item 5, Director's Report.
I'll keep this extremely short. I do want to make you aware that on November 13th, we do have a meeting with the business merchants in the downtown, just to kind of build that connection with them and kind of get feedback from them on how we can continuously improve and serve them better. That's November 13th at Nash Keys at 3 p.m. Anyone from the downtown is invited, including city staff is invited to attend that. Second thing is I do want to make you aware is that the City of Clearwater Community Development Agency just won a state award in the big city category from the Florida Redevelopment Association. And this was for our annual report. We beat out City of Orlando, Tampa, South Florida cities. And some of those big cities, they also had outside firms come in and do their annual reports. But we did it all in-house, just staff time, and we beat them all out. And we're proud to say that we won an award. I do want to thank Eric Santiago, Tasha Hadley, Joelle, and her team, just for all the effort that we put together here to win the award. I'm very proud. Emily Johnson, and I apologize, Emily Johnson was very critical. She worked with Joelle's team. So here's the award, and we'll display it proudly. And City of Clearwater beat out the big cities, and we're one of those big cities. Other than that, I'll postpone the rest of the stuff to next time since you are on time crunch.
Very good. Thank you. Okay. All right. If there's nothing else to come before the CRA, we will now adjourn the November 4, 2024 meeting. I'm just going to take 5 minutes of recess before we begin, and then we've got to go quickly through the next meeting work session. Excuse me. It's time to call to order the November 4, 2024 work session of the Clearwater City Council. It's time we move to item 2.1 on the agenda.
The Sound Quarterly Report, Sarah Prout.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. My name is Sarah Prout. I'm the CFO at Ruth Eckerd Hall. There we go. I'm here to give a quarterly update at the for the Baycare Sound, and I also have some information on Ruth Eckerd Hall as well. And all of these stats change all the time. So when we pulled this report, we had 156,000 attend since opening in June of 2023. 37 events confirmed in 2024, and that's calendar year 2024. That does not include the one canceled show that we had because of Hurricane Helene. It also doesn't include any city events. Currently, we have 18 shows confirmed in 2025. 9 graduations. We actually are hosting 12 of the 17 Pinellas County graduations, many of whom lost their place due to Hurricane Milton, and we were happy to be a home for them in 2025. I'm very excited to have the Baycare Sound for 9 of them. Currently, we have 50 plus offers pending. In 2024, 6 shows were exclusive Florida appearances. Program partners, we have a range listed here: AEG, Live Nation, LPGA, Cox Radio, to name a few. And on the right part of your screen, you'll notice that we were the 2024 nominee for Amphitheater of the Year from IBA. This is the International Entertainment Buyers Association. That's very special to us because that's peers in our industry. So we're very proud of that. Here's a list of the upcoming events that will bring us to the end of 2024. I think there might also be some missing on that list as it changes daily. But you'll notice some names here: Darrell Hall, OAR, 97X, Next Big Thing. And in 2025, I will guarantee you that you will not know every single name on that list. Your grandkids, your kids might know them, and that is by design. So happy to broaden our offerings over there. Community programming, we have offered 5 community festivals that's free to the community. We've partnered we've offered Stormbringer, Clearwater Latin Jazz Fest. We've hosted a Clearwater Young Professionals Night. And then coming in 2025, we're very excited about our School Time series. This is kids from Pinellas County Schools. It will take place during the school day. Many of these students will be their first performing arts experience, and a beautiful backdrop. Community access, we have sponsorship offers. We have offered sponsorships to the Florida Orchestra Family Program, St. Petersburg College graduation, Clearwater High School graduation, and then co-presenting offers to Clearwater Jazz Holiday, Florida Orchestra, Movie Night, and Sea Blues Festival. And in those, we would be at part risk. Facility investments. Since opening, we've invested $4.9 million, and that includes furniture and decor. But those bottom 3 items are all in-house AV equipment, totaling $2.8 million. So that's a house sound system, the LED screens that you've seen, and a lighting system. And all of that also gains access to the community. We don't have to rent that equipment. Touring artists don't have to rent that equipment. So it's an investment that we're happy that we can do. Potential enhancements, we're looking at a sunshade, backstage lighting, electrical improvements throughout the venue, an event staff trailer, and additional on-site storage. And then just to talk a little bit about Ruth Eckerd Hall and the facility investments there. So since 2016, we've invested $20 million. Those things include HVAC, parking lot enhancements and expansion, and the West Lobby expansion. And to note, that does include a $3 million grant from the City of Clearwater. And on average, we usually invest about $1.1 million at Ruth Eckerd Hall into our facility. And the maintenance annually is about $255,000 for an annual expense of $1.4 million. The city does give a subsidy annually of $419,000, bringing our net expense to $986,000. Here are some of the investments that we have made in the past couple years: auditorium seats, carpeting, HVAC, roof replacement, security bollards. Those all total $3.9 million. And then on the schedule for this coming fiscal year, we have exterior painting, parking lot paving, retaining wall, exterior doors, and surveillance cameras, all totaling $1.2 million. And then that's all. I'm open for questions if you have any.
Questions from the council? I would like to say the one thing on the sound, the shades, I'm sure you all are already aware of it, but it was pretty tough for Clearwater High School's graduation last year. That sun was coming right into their eyes, and I know there have been other performances where that's been a problem for the attendees. So definitely with the additional graduations, I don't know where that's on the priority list, but I think that that's something that would be helpful as we're anticipating more of those.
Yeah, it is on the priority list. As you can imagine, it's a unique problem and kind of it needs a unique solution. So we have looked at different engineering firms and different ways that we can accomplish that. It's a large space. So it is on the priority list, and we do have some good ideas, but it's going to take some vetting first.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hey, we'll move to item 3.1 on the agenda.
Council members, before I announce the item, I'm just a reminder to staff and to council, we have a hard stop at 4:45, and that is because Chambers is used as a polling location, and we need to be out, turn over the room to the supervisor of elections, and we've got some work to do before we can turn it over, so just as a reminder.
So let's get to the point.
Confirm the declarations.
How much you want?
You heard it.
Item 3.1, confirm the declarations of a state of emergency due to Hurricane Helene.
All right, Javon Graham, Division Chief Emergency Management. Any questions? No, this is the local state of emergency that was extended due to Hurricane Helene and the emergency procurement efforts and the recovery efforts that we needed for that particular event and that storm, which included allowing the city manager extra authority for monies, extra work schedules, and also the waiver of certain building permits. With that, if you have any questions on this particular item, I'm happy to answer them.
Is 3.2 the extension of that, or is that 3.1 and 3.2 are together?
Yes, 3.2 is the extension for Hurricane Milton.
Any questions? Okay. None.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sean.
Item 4.1.
Approve an encroachment agreement between the City of Clearwater and Florida Gas Transmission Company for a Clearwater Gas Department gas distribution pipeline to cross over Florida Gas Transmission Company.
Good afternoon, Council. My name is Alex Leon, Assistant Director for the Gas Department. This agreement will allow us to install an 8-inch gas line at the intersection of State Road 52 and Sun Lake Road in Pasco County.
Any questions?
Well done.
Comments? No. Do we have consent?
Yes. Yep.
We have consent on agenda item 4.1.
I believe
5.1.
it was done.
Approve an increase in proposal from construction manager at risk for Galactus Contracting for repairs to the Clearwater Beach Marina main dock.
Good afternoon, Council. Mike McDonald, Marine and Aviation Director. Hurricane Helene, followed by Hurricane Milton, severely impacted the beach marina reconstruction project and caused significant damage to 2 areas of docking infrastructure, the fuel dock and the main dock. The fuel dock being vital to our revenue stream during construction. The fuel dock was the location where the commercial fleet is operating during phase 1 of construction. The damage to this dock was severe and requires 2 to 3 months to repair. The main dock was less damaged and was to be turned over to the contractors for the first phase of construction. Due to the unavailability of the fuel dock, we have decided to break the first phase of the project into 2 phases, 1A and 1B. 1A will allow the commercial fleet the ability to operate off the main dock until the fuel dock can be repaired. Once the fuel dock is repaired, the commercial fleet will move to the fuel dock and phase 1B will begin. The cost of delaying the project has been estimated to be $10,000 per day, and the lost revenue from not having the commercial fleet operate during construction is close to $500,000 or $50,000 per month. We're asking you to approve the repair of the main dock for the not-to-exceed price of $210,603. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Questions? Vice Mayor.
Okay, so we have insurance for this? Is this going to be paid with insurance or FEMA reimbursement?
This will be paid through FEMA.
Are we sure we're going to be reimbursed by FEMA on this?
We're documenting and doing everything to set us up to be eligible for the FEMA reimbursement.
So there's never a guarantee as it relates to FEMA. So I just want to be clear on that. But with this item, we have done everything I think that we can to set us up to be eligible for FEMA reimbursement.
Okay, all right. Well, that's good enough. I mean, we have to do it because it's got to be done, so.
Yes.
There is, and I know that we've had a lot of one-on-one conversations about this, but, one of the items, and ACM Slaughter, you can jump in here, if I say it wrong. But with this item is that this item our marina was slated to be rebuilt. And so typically what FEMA or insurance does is they bring you back to the state in which it was prior to the incident.
Precondition.
Right. That's not possible with this because we can't bring it back to that condition. It was ready to be redone, hence our project. And so that alone does cause some opportunities for this to not be eligible for FEMA reimbursement because of what it is. But the steps that we have taken to be eligible or put us in the best possible light to be eligible for FEMA reimbursement, we have done.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Councilmember?
Pretty much. So we're hopeful. My question is regarding, I understand a 1A and 1B project. It doesn't state anywhere in here where the funds are coming from. Is this a general reserve that we're paying out of?
I don't have that
I
agenda.
think this one is going to be out of.
It's on the item.
It's a,
There's
think it's
a
central
cost code
insurance.
emergency for these emergency items.
I believe this is going to come out of the central insurance fund. And if that's incorrect, I'll get that back to you.
Thank you.
And just remind everybody that you seek all you can get out of FEMA, but that's not the only source of funds that will be available for us to recover from this disaster. So staff is on top of it. I've been very impressed by how prepared our staff was, our team was for this. And we've had staff members been on our staff for 30 years who've been through other disasters. And so we want to do all we can to take advantage of the FEMA reimbursements, but I have confidence that the staff's not going to stop there, and we shouldn't either. We've got connections and resources we can reach out to supplement it if we need to, if it's denied for whatever reason. Yeah.
I just want to correct that. So in the agenda item, it is being charged to the Beach Marina Capital Fund.
You want to answer the insurance question?
Which is supported by the fees they collect, or where do those funds from that fund come from? Beach Marina Capital Fund, is it?
That's a question to which I would defer to.
I guess rental fees on the docks? or
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
The Capital Marina Reserve Fund, where do those come from? Fees charged at the marina?
Go ahead, sir.
Jay Ravens, Finance Director. That capital fund essentially represents Marina Fund reserves. So it's coming from Marina Fund reserves.
User fees in there.
As available.
Okay.
So I will also point out what the mayor said. I wouldn't expect a lot of these FEMA things. You know, we're going to do the best we can. Staff's obviously doing a great job, but that's a hope with certain items. I deal with FEMA directly in looking for reimbursements and costs, and it's going to come down to how it's articulated. And as the city manager even pointed out, if there was any insurance that was claimed on it, and honestly, really the argument of how did the storm affect this, and being in the fact that we were already slated to get it reimbursed, that we had presentations. I mean, let's just hope, but I think that that's where we're going to probably keep that. However, it does need to be redone, and I think that, you know, we have to spend the money regardless.
So I think this is as good a time as any just to kind of talk a little bit about just general principles of FEMA reimbursement and how we assess probabilities, as the manager pointed out. None of this is 100% certain or 0% certain. That's not what lawyers like to say, and it's typically not what we like to hear either. But the reasons why FEMA reimbursement are so hard to assess with high degree or low degree of confidence is because FEMA has a wide range of discretion in terms of how strictly they enforce their rules, how they interpret it, et cetera. As lawyers, we're typically accustomed to relying on statutory authority, case law. Here, there are federal regulations in place, and we do have some general principles that I can feel reasonably confident with, but they're written in broad terms, and FEMA has an extraordinary amount of range in how they can interpret them. In terms of case law, there is an appeals process if a city or county gets denied for reimbursement, but the appeals process lacks the formality and precedential value created by normal federal court. The process goes to an administrative agency called the Civilian Board of Contract Appeals. That process is essentially a panel of arbitrators who can hear appeals from a FEMA denial. Any city or county can take a case to the Civilian Board of Contract Appeals if we disagree with FEMA's determination. That panel of arbitrators, per federal law, renders a final decision on behalf of the President of the United States. And that is the process. So we have a remedy that is outside of or above FEMA when it comes to seeking review, but they are going to follow, FEMA's guidelines, and they're basically just making sure that FEMA followed their own rules in the case, and that is their purview. In addition to that, the Civilian Board of Contract Appeals does not create legal precedent in the way that normal appellate courts do. And it's just like an arbitration award, like we might have in a labor and employment case, where, sure, there might be some labor arbitration in Seattle, but it has nothing to do with our employment decisions here. And so I can look on Westlaw and do research and have to see other examples of cases where cities or counties have appealed FEMA decisions to try to get a sense of where this might land, what are our remedies, and there are a lot of them out there, but they don't have the weight of precedent that is carried by a normal federal appellate decision. So the best I can say is that this panel of arbitrators interpreted it this way, and maybe they'll view the same if we get that same panel in the future, but if we get a different panel, it can be viewed differently. That said, even though there's a lot of uncertainty and a lot of ambiguity, I do not think it's a free-for-all, and I do not think that all outcomes are equally likely, and do not think that all outcomes are equally probable. We can say, based on our own experiences, I know Councilmember Cotton's been through it, what is more likely to happen than some other things, but just understand that anytime we have a conversation about FEMA reimbursement, and there's going to be a lot of them, both on today's agenda and in the weeks ahead, that we are always going to be operating within a realm of uncertainty. Here, the uncertainty is caused by a couple things. One, as the manager pointed out, we have the pre-storm condition and the question over what that's going to be like and what is FEMA going to be satisfied. Number two is how does insurance play into that? Typically, FEMA wants to use insurance before they will consider, or other sources, not just insurance, but if we're able to get grants or other sources, they typically want to see themselves being used as an insurer of last resort. And then third, there's the question of procurement. So this is a issue that we're going to have to deal with pretty regularly as a city, because the fastest way to get things done on a construction level oftentimes is with a non-competitive process, which FEMA oftentimes is very skeptical of, except in emergency situations. On the other hand, with this situation with the marina, it is so unique, as the manager pointed out, because we already had the work slated to be done. We're in a very unique situation with the marina that I don't think is like any other item that we have. So I think there are some unique factors that may allow us to articulate our need for reimbursement or why reimbursement is appropriate here, where otherwise it might be really hard to do that. But because it was already slated and Kokalakis was already set to do the work, I do think a reasonable argument can be made to FEMA that it was unreasonable for us to try to bring someone else in competitively when we literally already have our construction manager pre-storm who was lined up to do this exact work. So that is a fluke situation that we have here that I do think has put us in a decent chance of reimbursement. but not a sure thing, and the council has to know that in approving an item like this. I don't have a way to guarantee that we're gonna get reimbursed for this. I would say it's probably 50-50.
Okay, anybody else? No? So do we have consent?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Okay, we have consent on agenda item 5.1. 6.1,
Authorize an increase in purchase orders with Beauty Calls and United Site Services of Florida for the rental of portable toilets, hand washing stations, and other related items.
Good afternoon, Mayor, council members. The short of this is we need more money for porta potties. Need to go from 100,000 to 175,000.
Short and sweet.
With that, I'll answer any questions.
because some of them I've seen on the beach have the 3 or 4 feet of sand over the
Well,
toilets, so.
and that's one of our problems. We've had an awful lot of issues like that, and we just need more money.
Yep.
And this is basically a 3-year contract. We did RFP on it and everything else.
Yep.
That's what we're requesting.
Okay, any questions? Okay, consent?
Yep.
We have consent on agenda item 6.1. 6.2,
Approve amendments to the Clearwater Code of Ordinances, Chapter 22, Article 2, Section 22.24, to correct the name of McKay Playfield to McKay Park, change the operating hours of McKay Park from closed between sunset to sunrise to close 9 p.m. to 7 a.m., and 5 parks to be closed between sunset and sunrise.
Thank you. The city is in the process, as you know, of renovating McKay Park and adding some additional amenities to that park. Chapter 22 of Section 2224 regulates the opening and the closing times of all of our parks. McKay Park is currently closed from sunset to sunrise, and with the new amenities and the availability actually of having lights in the evening, well, we wanted to come back to you to make sure that and we're recommending the closing hours be from 9 p.m. to 7 a.m. At the same time, we're requesting to correct the name of McKay Playfield to McKay Park, which is most commonly used and what we have on our ID sign. In addition, the proposed ordinance also includes several parks that are not listed. We wanted to make sure they were on there: Bayshore Trail, North Penny Lane Neighborhood Park, Lake Chautauqua Equestrian Park and Nature Preserve, McLennan Circle Park, and Rainbow Drive Park. All of these parks are closed from sunset to sundown. With that, I can answer any questions you may have.
any questions or comments on agenda item 6.2? Thank you. And item 7.1.
Authorize a work order and purchase order to Geosyntec to complete the closure plan implementation of the Harbor Drive fill area.
Hi, I'm Joe DeSico with Public Works. Good afternoon. In the 1940s and 1950s, the city used incinerator ash and other debris to fill areas along Stevenson Creek. There was also an incinerator located right at the Marshall Street plant, and these areas around there became the Harbor Drive fill area. A portion of that area also included the Philip Jones Field. By about 2009, pieces of metal and broken glass unexpectedly started making their way up onto the ball field and made for a dangerous playing surface. So we had an agreement with DEP to kind of fast track that portion to get the field back in service. And we agreed with DEP to finish up the surrounding areas at a later date. So this portion of the work order will finish the project up for the remaining areas and get this fully back into public use. Any questions?
Any questions on agenda item 7.1? If not, do we have consent?
Yep.
Yes.
We have consent on agenda item 7.1. 7.2.
Approve the final plat for Coachman Park with physical address at 100 North Osceola Avenue and 300 Cleveland Street.
Afternoon, Council. Tom Mahoney, Public Works Department. So this plat is part of the development agreement with the D'Annunzio Group from August of 22. This plat will basically formally subdivide the 2 bluff parcels from the rest of Coachman Park. And I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions on this agenda item? Do we have consent on 7.2?
Yep.
Yes.
We have consent on agenda item 7.2. Thank you. 7.3.
Approve a 1-year lease with Christophe and Gimbel Holdings LLC and the City of Clearwater for our office space located at 1255 Cleveland Street.
Afternoon, Mayor, council members. This item, again, is the lease associated with the MSB move. So staff's done a considerable amount of effort in really trying to work through, first, the overall scope and budget of MSB. I think we've talked before. Part of our goal is we really need to get after our work induction process, make sure we're scoping these, establishing budgets much better. And then also the estimating and the procurement methods that we're doing it. So from the MSB standpoint, there was a couple of areas that weren't well scoped out up front, which was some of the move costs that were associated with it, as well as kind of the overall exactly what we were going to do. So the teams have spent a lot of effort going through. There's been a lot of cost estimating that's gone on, scoping to get the budget back within where we need to. Some of those involved the decision of going from a single floor renovation to the full floor, to the full building, which resulted in about $1 million savings. And from my biotech days when we worked in labs in buildings that were occupied with single floors, it's very painful when you're doing single floors. So this lease gets us to how do we go out and do the entire building to take advantage of that full savings that's out there. So if we're looking at about $1 million savings to be able to do it all at once, we're spending about $200,000 for the lease. The original plan didn't include any of that anyhow, and how we were going to do that. So the staff's walked through, we've maximized a whole bunch of the city facilities that we can use out there. One of them we are doing is the old Countryside Library. So we've made investments, but those investments were, let's make smart life cycle investments. So we'll build out that space so we can use it for future projects and swing space. So we're trying to work really smart coming through. So let's spend the money smartly. We're going to tear down ceilings. Let's make sure that we're putting LED lights in, which are, drive our utility bills and stuff in the future. So we're making a bunch of those, but this item in particular goes to the lease agreement. So there is one space that we needed to lease in order to be able to make the full move occur. So I know we're short on time, so I'll hold it there. And Kaz is here if there's any specific questions on the lease.
Okay. Any questions or comments on agenda item 7.3? Not, do we have consent?
Yes. Yep.
We have consent on 7.3. 7.4.
Approve a purchase order to Econo Light Control, Inc. for traffic signal cabinets and controller components.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I'm Anna Holland with the Transportation Division Manager for Public Works. During Hurricane Helene, a total of 7 traffic signal cabinets and components incurred irreversible saltwater damage. The cabinets and electronics were rebuilt and replaced using a combination of stocked and reused parts. Due to the long lead times for cabinet and specialized components, there's an immediate need to replenish stock and replace equipment in case unforeseen circumstances arise. Econolite is a state-approved vendor awarded under FDOT approved products list for traffic equipment. And additionally, Econolite is offering a 10% discount for items in the subject contract for hurricane relief, resulting in a savings of over $18,000. Any questions?
City Attorney?
Just to make an observation, which is that, again, this will be the kind of the common theme on the question of FEMA reimbursement. So it's going to show that every item is going to be unique in terms of probabilities, what issues are we going to deal with. We're certainly going to ask for FEMA reimbursement. We're going to go for it. It is not guaranteed. The reason it's not guaranteed here is because of a piggyback contract. FEMA typically doesn't like piggyback contracts. The other issue that we're going to have to overcome is the unique model numbers, because there's always a unique model number with a traffic signal cabinet, et cetera. That said, the nature of the work is pretty exigent. And so if the work wasn't done, it could expose the public to danger.
Sure.
And so that can take us outside of the ambit of those normal rules. So if I'm asked, do I think most likely are we going to get reimbursed? I think more likely than not, because of the nature of this particular work and how exigent it is. But FEMA could see it otherwise. And so it goes to show every item is going to involve a different calculus, and there's going to be a different quantity of probability of reimbursement. So council just has to know that as you're reviewing these items.
Understand. Councilmember Marino?
Yeah, I have a question, and it's not to find fault, it's more to know if something that we did for mitigation broke down. But I know in 2022, we established an SOP for our natural disaster plan regarding traffic operations. And one of them, as I scroll down, it says provide water protection by wrapping cabinets or removing cabinet equipment prior to storm surge. And removing, sorry, I totally scanned away. And removing all electrical components from cabinets in all floodplains A and B. Did we execute that and that mitigation plan still failed, or did we not execute that?
It failed under Hurricane Helene just because of the level of the water. We did not remove the cabinets then. We did remove the cabinets for Milton. It's just the nature of Helene was so unprecedented, and we did not fully implement that plan.
Gotcha.
And keep in mind, to implement that plan and remove those electronic components and to take them offline, you basically take your traffic signals out at the midst of an evacuation.
Yeah, right.
So,
I think it said 12 hours. This is part of
And to
12
do
hours.
all of the intersections, and what'd you do, 25, was it? How many did you have that got
We
flooded?
have 71 intersections in the city, but the low-lying areas are about 9.
I don't think we're going to get those done in 12
Yeah,
hours.
so maybe these need to be updated.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's still a good strategy that we will employ when it makes sense, and depending on the nature of what we're looking at. Certainly, this one was unprecedented.
Did you want to bring up elevating the cabinets?
Yeah, so we are also working on a new SOP plans where we're looking for hardening the existing structures at those low-lying areas so our cabinets are higher up. That way, we can still keep the equipment running depending on what kind of storm surge we expect.
Very nice, thank you.
Good question. Yeah, thanks. Okay, any further discussion?
No.
If not, do we have consent?
Yes.
We have consent on 7.1. Thank you.
Thank you.
8.1.
Approved purchase order to Communications International, Vero Beach, Florida, for the maintenance and repair of the citywide two-way radio communication system.
Good afternoon, Peter Bardot, General Services Director. The item before you is a request to utilize Communications International for the maintenance and repair of citywide two-way radio system. This maintenance covers breaks, repairs, factory repairs, PM, and firmware. The maintenance provided by Communications International is recommended by the manufacturer, L3 Harris. I'll take any questions.
Okay, any questions, comments? Do we have consent on agenda item 8.1?
Yes.
We have consent on 8.1. Thank you. 9.1.
Approve amendments to the Community Development Code clarifying definitions for artwork and murals.
Good afternoon, Lauren Matzke, Planning and Development. So this proposed ordinance came out of City Council's work session in July regarding the downtown sign code. During that conversation, there was consensus to increase the amount of window signage allowed for downtown businesses, which have their own separate sign code, from 10% to 25% to make it aligned with what is allowed for other businesses citywide under the standard sign code. The ordinance also proposes to amend the definitions for artwork and murals. Staff worked closely with legal on those proposed changes, and the intent is to provide better distinction of what would be considered the artwork component and what would be considered the commercial messaging component in a painted sign or a mural that might otherwise integrate some signage into it. The Community Development Board, this was presented to them in October 15th, and they unanimously recommended approval.
Okay. Questions, comments from the council? Councilmember Teixeira?
Just a clarification. So I read this, and it's a lot to read and try to weed through it because there's a lot of, I find, confusing things, but that's not a reflection on the author. Just in itself, it's a confusing topic. For example, on page 3, we're talking about crossing out the 10% to 25. And that is on page 3,
Yes.
graph. And then when you go to page 4, proposed window signs, it goes down to 20%. The 10% crosses out to the 20. And so for the layman person, can you please explain the differentiation between the 25 and the 20?
Sure. Well, one of the things that was brought forward on, in the table that's on page 3 of the ordinance, and I can put it here for others' reference, is also to bring forward language in the table that says the total area of all window signs along a street frontage shall not exceed 50 square feet. That is otherwise referenced in the window sign specific language of the code, and we thought it was good to kind of place it front and center here also even though it replicates what's there. So on the examples, then, one of the challenges is when you're limited to 50 square feet, I was trying to kind of show how you could use multiple types of signs or multiple window signage, and ultimately trying to do my best with the examples that were already in the code. I wasn't able to come up with a configuration that would get closer to 25% window signage but still maintain or show the other types of signage here. So what I ended up with was 4 rectangular signs, 1 round sign, and it totaled 20% of the window area, but it was still 48 square feet. So it was, you're right, it's complicated. These just happen to be existing illustrations to kind of show how you could utilize the hierarchy of the sign code that's available for downtown. And I was trying to fit within the existing examples.
So it's either or, 25%, 50 square, 50
Up to
feet,
50 square foot. Right, so if you have really, really big windows, you may not get 25% because you'll ultimately be limited to the 50 square feet. That's also consistent with the
So
sign
that's the
code
deal
for
breaker.
citywide also.
The deal breaker is the 50 square feet.
So I was
not
able
the
to get
percentage.
to, right, they go hand in hand. So that would be the same on the second example.
Yeah, okay.
Anything else? Okay. Any other questions, comments? Hearing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Move to 9.2.
9.2 is being continued.
10.1.
Authorize purchase orders to multiple vendors for the purchase of computer parts, product maintenance, and servers and network equipment.
Mayor, Council, Dan Mayer, IT Director. This is an item we bring forward for our commodities and certain consistent cost maintenance items that we get through the year. It covers about 6, 7 vendors and a number of piggyback contracts, which were all state bid and competitive under either Omnia or NASPO or a state contract. I'll be happy to take any questions.
Questions or comments from the council? Hearing none, do we have consent? We have consent on 10.1. Thank you.
Thank you.
11.1.
Approve an increase to existing purchase order with RDK Assets, Inc. of Tampa for solid waste and recycling truck rentals.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council, Jacoby Washington, Assistant Solid Waste Director. So on October 7th, 2024, the Solid Waste Department ordered 6 extra rental trucks, which were 3 rear loaders and 3 grapple trucks to assist with storm debris cleanup after Hurricane Helene, anticipating Hurricane Milton. Additional funding is needed to keep these trucks operational until December 2024. The original purchase order was for $96,500, approved in October 2023, and was increased to $300,500 after a $204,000 approval on May 16, 2024. We now seek another $160,000 to raise the limit, or the total amount to $460,500 for continued cleanup efforts. Any questions?
Okay, any questions from council?
I don't have questions, but I think that we need to definitely look into buying our trucks as soon as we can, right? Like, I know there's a lead time, those types of things. Do we, or do we know how long the lead time is on ordering one of those trucks?
Hey, Council, Kirby Simmons, Solid Waste Director. So, as you know, our trucks are spaced out every couple of years. So, go through general services. So we have been told that in January, we're expected to get the trucks that was ordered 2 years ago.
Yeah, okay, so about 48
so we're
months.
expecting new trucks in January, expected. So we'll see how that happens in January.
Okay.
Hopefully, once we get the trucks, we'll alleviate the rental trucks. But the trucks that Mr. Kobe is talking about is due to the massive amount of debris that we expected throughout the storm, we needed some additional assets to help us with the storm cleanup.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and by the way, we are ahead of schedule compared to our neighboring cities with the
Perfect.
cleanup.
No, you guys are
Keep
doing
in
a
mind,
great
these
job.
trucks came in handy, so.
We like that.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Yes.
like that. Any other
Very much
questions,
appreciate it.
comments? Okay, do we have consent
Yes.
on 11.1? Yes. We have consent. 11.2.
Ratify and confirm a purchase order with Crowder Gulf Joint Venture, Inc. of Mobile, Alabama for Hurricane Helene debris removal.
Good afternoon, Council, Mayor, Council, Kevin Sanders, the Director. So this is a ratification of and confirm of a purchase order for Crowder Gulf Joint Venture of Alabama for Hurricane Helene debris removal for the amount of $4,146,250. The city manager approved the estimate amount under the emergency declaration. Assuming that the council ratified and confirmed the purchase order, Solid Waste will be returning to council for a separate purchase order for Crowder Gulf for additional debris removal and management services for Hurricane Milton. Any questions?
Questions on this agenda item?
A lot of money.
Hearing none, do we have consent?
Yes.
Yep.
We have consent on 11.2. Thank you. 12.1.
Approve 2025 City Council meeting schedule. Council members, per City Council Rule 1, you meet on the first and third Thursday of the month with a work session prior, with the exception of January, July, and December. In the agenda item, I have outlined a schedule, and I have also identified those dates that we have some conflicts. So President's Day, instead of having a work session on a Tuesday, I think it's easier for staff and for the council, for the public to actually submit comments. So when we have those meeting conflicts, instead of having a meeting on Tuesday, it's just a council meeting only. So there will be no consent agenda on those days, and we will try to limit or control the agenda as much as possible so it's not too long on Thursday. With the exception of Yom Kippur, which is from Wednesday, October 1 through Thursday, October 2nd, that will be a different day for a council meeting. So obviously we can't meet on Thursday, so it'll be scheduled on the Monday and no work session on that week. To accommodate for Jazz Holiday, we're asking that we schedule the meeting on Wednesday, October 15th. Again, no work session, just a council meeting only. So those are all the conflicts. We are also asking that we schedule the strategy session, planning session for council January 30 on Thursday.
Any comments or questions or concerns about any of those dates?
I did ask our staff assistant to confirm to make sure there weren't any conflicts with vacations, but if there is a conflict in the future, council can always modify the meeting schedule afterwards.
Well, we do our best, we know. But,
Exactly, no, for
Is
sure.
there any known conflict, I guess?
Not that I'm
anybody
aware
would
of,
have, anybody
for
would
me.
have,
Now,
Okay,
today.
so it looks good for us.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, thank you for putting that together for us. Yeah. 13.1.
Mayor, this is my item. This is related to the Gotham and D'Annunzio partnership. To briefly recap, when we got under contract with D'Annunzio to create a new parcel that is located on the west side of Osceola Avenue and on the north side of Pierce, so kind of at that southeast corner. At that point, we didn't know exactly what the site plan was going to be because we were just creating a new parcel and inviting developers to submit ideas and see what ideas they would come up with. That parcel that we've sketched out, that trapezoid, is around 1.35 acres, 1.36 acres, give or take. To the north of that parcel and immediately to the north is the main library parking lot. So in other words, we're talking about a new parcel we're sketching out that is directly south of where we are right now and directly south of the library parking lot. As we negotiated the agreement with Gotham, we all came to the conclusion that in order to have an effective site plan, they really need access through the main library lot. We could have said no, but it would have resulted in a worse site plan that would have been less desirable for EMS, less desirable for solid waste, less desirable for utilities. So we all agreed it made sense to give them access through the main library lot. That's what this agreement does. It is for access only. Does not sell, it does not convey, it does not lease the main library lot in any way whatsoever, but it does provide them access in order to fulfill their site plan, because the main library lot will be used as an entry point both for city operations and for the public in order to actually get into the property once the hotel is built. That said, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the council? Do we have consent?
Yes.
We have consent on agenda item 13.1. 13.2.
13.2 is a legal services agreement with Bush Graziano. So council, because this is active litigation, there's not a whole lot to say other than I know the council is familiar with this matter, and the litigation continues post-trial. That's probably all I have to say on that one.
Questions from the council? And seeing none, do we have consent?
Yes.
Okay, we have consent on 13.2. 13.3.
Mayor, 13.3 is a second reading from a vacation request, but happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Seeing none, thank you. 14.1.
Storm debris removal update.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. We wanted to provide a debris update regarding all the storms, so we've asked Kervin to come forward. Not yet, you're next. Appreciate the enthusiasm.
Good afternoon, Mayor, council members. Kervin sending me once again. So today we're going to give you a brief presentation of storm debris update. So what we have coming in as we stand, so type of debris, we're looking at sand, vegetation, construction and demolition debris, appliances to include stove, washers, dryers, refrigerators, and hazardous waste. Source of the debris, obviously residential, townhomes, commercial, hotels, and condominiums. This is just a snapshot of what our south view looks like after Helene, and then what it looks like as we stand right now due to the sand. Obviously, our streets was impacted greatly with sand throughout our streets. That sand was collected and stored at different locations for cleaning, and then bring it back into our beach. Several of our streets was unpassable due to the construction and demolition debris out throughout our neighborhoods that we had to deal with, and to include complete residential debris. We also had a lot of hazardous waste that we had to collect throughout the streets. Pretty much everything under the kitchen sink was out on the streets. Staff was dispatched immediately after the storm, trying to help clean our neighborhoods. Solid waste was out in force, trying to clean our streets up. We lost a lot of assets, to include our black barrel, blue barrels, and dumpsters during the storm. Where does the debris go? So we had several sites permitted to collect debris. Joe DiMaggio complex was primarily used for vegetation. Martin Luther King Jr. site is used for construction and demolition debris. Baker Ballpark parking lot is used to store appliances. Marymount Park, so after Hurricane Milton, staff utilized FEMA Category B declaration, emergency protection measures, which to reconstitute water system and to make a roadway pathway. You utilize that measures to move debris off the streets, and we use that park to store the debris. The park was fenced, and currently is 90% cleaned, 90% removed. Other debris has been removed. It's all goal to restore the park to its original condition or better once we finish the process. Woodgate Park, we utilize that for self-hauling, drop-off. Residents were able to bring debris vegetation to that location. We average about 30 to 60 loads daily. Again, once again, it's our intent to fully restore the park to original condition once we finish with the process. We spoke about sand being stored. Obviously, we had a lot of sand cleaned and then take back to the beach and being repurposed. Final destination, Angelo's GFL is our final destination for construction and demolition. We had a long delay backup, so we had to do some diversion. So it's about 2-hour delay for taking debris there. Gaston in Lago is where we're taking all our vegetation at this time. Our hazardous waste is taken to a remote site permitted for hazardous waste. How we're tackling the storm. So we're using the all hands on deck approach. Solid waste team work extended hours to include weekends. We had 16 to 20 trucks on vegetation and junk removal. Like we stated, we rented additional trucks to help us in that effort. We hired Crowder Golf for debris management through an RFP. Crowder Golf had 10 trucks to 30 employees at the beginning of the process. Currently, they have 14 trucks and 30 employees continue working with us. I'm very pleased. I was very thankful for Crowder Golf for helping us through that process. It's been eye-opening for me since that's my first time through the process. We also have a dashboard that you could get daily updates of how we're doing with our debris management. Volume and tonnage. Mixed debris, we have processed over 2,500 tons of mixed debris, over 13,000 tons of sand, over 11,000 tons of construction and demolition debris, and over 17,000 tons of vegetation. Our goal is to have all debris picked up within 90 days. Our deadline is January 13, 2025. We have completed about 80 to 90% first pass. Saying that, first pass, you could see multiple trucks come through your neighborhood for first pass because of what is being picked up on a regular basis. Some issues we had, conflict we had was power lines, was low power lines. The trucks coming through could not get through the neighborhood because of low power line. Parked cars, a lot of neighbors was trying to clean their property and they parked the cars on the streets. And trees, all created delays for us. Crews will make a second pass. So it's the first pass, then we'll do it. Once we completed our first pass, we'll do a second pass through the neighborhoods again. Once we do our second pass is complete, residents should have a private contractor with a dumpster to manage the debris at that point. We expect a very high cost for both those hurricanes. We say 8 to 10 million, could be higher based on what we're seeing so far. We already moved about 250,000 cubic yards of debris as we stand right now. Obviously, we speak a lot about the complication of FEMA. We do not believe that process is going to be easy recouping those funding. We're doing everything possible to make sure that we document our processes while we're going through the process. Commercial, so commercial debris. So commercial customers also suffer great loss during the storm. So city rules for FEMA, we follow the city rules when it comes to commercial property. City account for commercial property, but does not include storm debris. FEMA reimbursement rules will not cover collection for storm for commercial property. Commercial property is expected to dispose of their debris of their property. FEMA rules include condominiums in the definition of commercial property. And we put the but. On October 29, FEMA designated Pinellas County a highly impacted county and updated their disaster-specific guideline, rapid debris removal. The new version provides some ability to collect debris from condominiums, apartments, some commercial businesses at first pass. Staff is verifying the updated FEMA guidelines, creating systems and documentation necessary to pick up condominiums and limited commercial businesses. We are prepared, Solid Waste is prepared to pick up commercial debris at customers' request and expense. So other options for commercial property, they could hire a third-party debris management contractor. Like stated, they could make arrangement to pay for a dumpster for pickup, labor charge through solid waste, and additionally, they could file for claim through their insurance. With that being said, we will continue to work hard until this process is completely over. We're committed to that. Saying that, before questions, obviously I want to thank my staff, the men and women of solid waste. By all means, they have worked very hard and dedicated to making the city of Clearwater bright and beautiful again. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much to your staff too, 100%.
Questions, comments, council?
I do have something. And this kind of goes back to the 11.1 of the rental agreement, because dealing with FEMA is not fun. You have to be able to articulate and argue pretty much every penny that you're looking for. So to hear you say that you're tracking costs and making sure that those things are handled appropriately are going to be pivotal, because there's two ways of looking at that rental agreement, right? FEMA could say, we're only going to pay you for the first X amount of days for your rental agreement once you use those. Thankfully, we're going up to 90 days, and if you're tracking those costs, you could essentially say that all of that would be reimbursable under that first 90 days. So it really does come down to tracking, and I appreciate you being on top of that, because
Yeah, we are tracking every pickup, every dump. We are tracking every movement of every vehicle that we have.
Perfect.
We have a company that's monitoring our progress also.
For sure. I just hope that, our other piggyback contract, not piggyback contract, but our Crowder Golf contract doesn't come in to hit that. I can see them, because they're going to look to try not to pay, right, at the end of the day.
It's FEMA's goal not to pay, right?
Exactly. So that's where we just have to be ready and have that argument to articulate to them as to why we needed X, Y, Z. So thank you very much for tracking those costs. It's going to be huge.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I greatly appreciate it. Staff's been working hard and around the clock, and it's appreciated. I guess my question is more about how we're messaging to our residents on the commercial side as well as residential side, and if we could just briefly touch on how we're continuing to get that message out, because whether it's social media, so many people seem misguided on it, and it's easy to just say, go to the website, go to the website. Unfortunately, it seems like so many don't. So I'm just, if we could just touch on what we're doing as a staff to make sure we're communicating the message of where we are in the process, where we're going, and how much is being done.
Yeah, so one thing that we've all learned is the guidelines change on a regular basis, and sometimes it changes before we can even get the communication out. But I will tell you, one, again, I want to say thank you to Kervin and his team, because it's been absolutely outstanding what they have accomplished. But in addition to that, the public communications team has worked alongside with them and done a lot of work in communicating. And yes, we keep our website up to date, but they do much more than that. During the event, which feels like it still hasn't ended, they were doing multiple updates a day, and they would send them out en masse, but then also do targeted updates to the different areas because they're impacted differently, including the business community on this commercial stuff. We've been sending out regular updates to let them know the changes with what happened with FEMA, and as we're working through that. So that continues. Also, the neighborhoods team has been working with their constituents to make sure that we're communicating directly with that. And then I believe both all the way up through and including ACM Slaughter and the solid waste crew have actually been reaching out individually to our condominium owners and their HOAs to communicate, because that's one of the things that we learned, is that they did not consider themselves commercial, of which neither did we. That is a FEMA designation. That is not a City of Clearwater designation. That is a FEMA designation, and doesn't necessarily match what you would originally think a commercial designation would be. So a lot of communication efforts, and that's going to continue. For example, one of the things that FEMA requires, and we're still working through the guidelines, is forms for just different things to include insurance, to say that whether or not you have filed an insurance claim. And so right now, as we sit at this moment, unless it's changed since we've been in here, we're going to be sending that form out. So this will be another communication piece that will blast on our website, but then send out directly to everybody to let them know that they have to complete this form in order for us to be able to pick up their commercial debris. If the form is not completed, we won't be able to do so, because we need them to articulate that they have not already filed a FEMA claim of which they would be getting reimbursed for their debris removal. There still continues to be a lot of communication about that and confusion if it is needed or not. But where we sit right now, that is how we're moving forward. Worst case scenario, we'll get additional information that FEMA may not require, but we'd rather be in the best situation to be able to get the FEMA reimbursement rather than skip a step that would maybe make us ineligible for it.
To reiterate what everybody else has said, amazing job. I can't tell
you.
how many people, and we all get calls, I get calls, city manager gets calls. You know, when's the debris gonna be gone in front of my building? And every time, or calls, we get emails, we get text messages. I talk to them every time. I explain to them how much we've removed throughout the entire city, how it normally takes communities I've been in that have this kind of disaster 6-7 months to get rid of all the debris. It's just amazing what our team has done. You've really done a fantastic job of coordinating it. But, you know, we all have helped tell the story about what you've done and all, but we have, and what's coming ahead, and need to continue to do that. Encourage my other council members to help us communicate to folks, because the couple things I'm seeing is, just for example, at Clearwater Point, the speedway out there, they've had this debris pile out there forever. They've just not separated. It sits out there by their business, and I just assume that they have no idea what the situation is and when it's going to be picked up or whatever. They've not reached out to us. They're just assuming, and we all have to drive by that every day, seeing it sit out there just lumped together. So I appreciate the city's proactive reaching out. You know, City Manager Slaughter's reached out to a number of folks where we see problems, where we see folks, debris just sitting, has been sitting since the storms, and they're probably just assuming that someday they're gonna come around and pick it up, and maybe not, because they're not on the list. That it continue to reach out to them individually where we see what might be problems, because as of a week ago, some of them were surprised that, you know, residential condominiums weren't going to be picked up automatically. And so I think there's still quite a few, I wouldn't say quite a few, but there are still some out there in the community that have no clue any of this you've shared, what the process is, whatever. They're just expecting we're going to come get it. So that's one. And the other thing too is what you said about they need to quit putting out debris expecting us to pick it up, because I saw folks Thursday, Friday, even in our area, they have contractors in there still probably, you know, we got snowbirds and all of our properties out there. They hadn't been in to really do anything done until last week, and so they are just now hauling it out. Maybe after, in our street, probably not at the first pass, we've still got debris out there in front of our building. But there are other buildings that they've already had their first pass, and what you said, I think, is really important to communicate too, that if you're going to do construction work after this point, you need to get a dumpster just like you would if we hadn't had a hurricane. And I think there are a lot of still folks coming in, assessing, getting contractors in to do that. That's important messaging.
Yeah.
Because I think we're gonna have some misunderstanding if we don't really make that clear going forward.
Yep.
So those two things, but come back to what I said earlier, presentation's great. I love this. In fact, I may use this tonight and another one we have this week, some of your slides. And your team, I just can't tell you how impressed I am with how much we have moved compared to other municipalities in our region, compared to other places where I've seen similar disasters or worse disasters over a period of time. It's just been amazing what our team has done, and thank you to all your guys.
Can I give a big thanks to ACM Slaughter and Jovan Graham? They're the two that's pushing the effort.
Yeah.
So we, as soon as the hurricane was over, the importance of getting boots on the ground, trying to take care of business right away. So we had some good leadership from Mr. Slaughter also.
And that's a great point, Griffin, because it's been the entire city staff. It's been communications, been fantastic supporting. Utility, I mean, all of our departments. We were in general services this past week, just talked to them about some things, and those folks were working on trucks that were breaking down and doing all those things behind the scenes, not being noticed, giving extra time to it that helped make you and your guys successful. And I can tell you, you have a few people in the community, every community, who you know, they have issues and they want to raise their hand and talk about them. But by and large, through this, our recovery, our efforts, our community has just raved about our team, what our city staff has done, how responsible we've been, proactive, and thank you, thank all the city team, and thank your department in particular for what you've done.
Thank you. Appreciate the kind gesture. We'll take it back to the team.
Yeah. Okay, any other questions? City Manager?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a comment. So just to emphasize something the manager said, because we're covering a lot of ground today in a very short period of time, but some things are more important than others. So something the manager just talked about is in picking up the debris from the condos, there's a form that we're asking them to sign. That form is a right of access form created by the Florida Department of Emergency Management. It's a standard form. There are probably going to be different cities, different counties who are doing different things. As we're reaching out, we may start getting feedback from some condo associations that say, I don't know, I don't understand, what is this form? Why do I have to sign it? Who signs it? I need to talk to my lawyer, etc. So if our direction as a city is that we are requiring the form as a condition of picking it up, it is imperative that everyone send a consistent message to the condo associations that this is what we are requiring. To the manager's point, there is some debate as to whether that form is actually going to be required by FEMA or not. I've advised the manager that I don't know if FEMA is going to require that form or not because it's debatable, but it is better safe than sorry, and particularly for those condos who are not normally served by the city of Clearwater, we are essentially doing them a favor by doing this. And so asking them to sign this form should be quick, it should be easy. If any of their lawyers want to talk, we'll make sure the city attorney's office is ready to talk to them, but it's really important that everyone sends that message consistently, because otherwise we could run into a very frustrating situation where we don't get those forms, and then as the manager said, we're not going to be in a position to pick up their debris.
Vice Mayor?
So there is a association of condo managers that meets on Sand Key. They're all out island condos. That's the one that we need to get this to, because they can give it out to all the managers to give their individual condo people. So I'll explore that and have them, I guess, talk to you.
Sure. We'll get them to the right people.
Yep.
Well, it's going to be huge, because what that comes down to is FEMA's not wanting to double dip, right? So if they've already applied for some type of reimbursement and gotten that, this is where I think having that tracking and doing this is going to benefit you when trying to articulate that argument to FEMA, saying, no, we picked it up, they signed this. That allows, in my mind, not attorney, you guys are, but them to go back after the condo association should there have been a double dip, right?
That is exactly the heart of the matter, because the obtuse way it's phrased in the Code of Federal Regulations is duplication of benefits, because why say in 2 words what you could say in several? And so duplication of benefits is prohibited under federal law, and that is exactly the point, as Councilmember Cotton pointed out. That form requires, under penalty of perjury, certification that there's no duplication of benefits. And so it does create a stronger audit trail for us, and also protects the association in the event that there's any question raised later by FEMA auditors or FEMA investigators. So that is the purpose of it.
Anything else? No? Okay. Thank you for your report.
Real quick, what was the name of that form again? Because I'm going to go ahead and get this to them immediately.
Notice of entry.
Yeah, it's a notice of entry form. And this notice of entry is the name of the form. We're going to send the communication out tomorrow to all of the businesses, because again, it's not just condominiums, but we will be sending that out tomorrow. So just send over the contact information. We'll make sure if we don't already have it that we include that and who it's being sent to.
Okay.
On that note, if I may continue, so I think we've made evident that our focus as it relates to the 2 storms that we've had is to maximize our ability to be eligible for as much as possible under FEMA guidelines, of which are ever changing. And so that is how we are basing our decisions. That is our priority. And so when we're looking at, for example, commercial debris pickup, the reason we haven't just picked it up is because we wanted to follow the FEMA guidelines and get as much reimbursed as possible. And until now, we did not have those guidelines to be able to do so. Because you'll hear what other municipalities are doing, they've handled it differently. We will get the same person to provide different advice to the different municipalities. So it's confusing and it's ambiguous. We're all doing the best we can with what we have, but that has been our focus. I'm going to ask Todd to come up now because, as is our way, we've been presented with conflicting priorities as it relates to the Baycare Ballpark complex. I know I reached out to all of you individually in preparation of this item, and I know we're getting close on time, so I won't go into a ton of detail with this, with the exception of we've been focused on making sure we're maximizing FEMA reimbursement. That's been our priority. With this, we have competing priorities because if we continue to maximize our reimbursement potential by FEMA as it relates to the Baycare Ballpark, the likelihood of us being baseball ready for spring training is non-existent. So we have competing priorities here, and we're looking for some direction from council to see, do we continue, which we have been, focusing on the priority, which would be to get maximum FEMA reimbursement, or staff's recommendation is that in this instance, that we focus on our priority being on baseball ready for the economic impact mostly. And we'll have Todd walk through in terms of what that means and the potential estimated costs that we could be foregoing being eligible from FEMA by doing that. Okay? Turn that over to Todd.
Good afternoon, Mayor, council members. Todd Moran with Risk Management. And so the update for this location is unique. We have a number of locations out there, but this one stands out as city manager indicated for the level of deductible. Currently, the scope of loss for this location is approaching $4 to $5 million. But the deductible on the building is 2.1 and change on that building alone. And so that's our out-of-pocket that we would be looking at after insurance pays out on the claim. So that's typically what city managers indicating that we would push to FEMA for reimbursement. And the question now becomes, is as we approach the end of mitigation, we've been pumping out the building, cleaning the building for the last couple weeks, and we're approaching completion on the home side. We've already completed the visitor side, and we need to make some decisions about reconstruction, how and when we would do that.
So I'll jump in there too, because I want to make sure we are clear on the options. There is an option to move forward with the procurement process that would make us FEMA eligible potentially, right? So FEMA eligible does not guarantee reimbursement. It just means that we would be more likely or have the opportunity to get FEMA reimbursement if we go through a procurement process. In most circumstances, that is not a problem. In this circumstance, because we are up against spring training that starts February, where we would need to be baseball ready, the procurement process is what could cause those delays in us having these competing priorities in terms of, do we focus on the FEMA reimbursement or do we focus on baseball ready? Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay. So what we need is direction from the council in terms of what priority we should be focusing on. Is it focusing on getting baseball ready? And again, we all understand the economic impact for spring training. I can't promise you with 100% certainty that we'll be baseball ready by doing the expedited process. But we are more likely to be able to meet those deadlines by moving forward with the insurance process and not doing the FEMA process, which is more of a procurement process. Same thing, we can't talk in absolutes that we won't get FEMA reimbursement or that we will get FEMA reimbursement if we go through the proper procurement. And by proper procurement, I'm not insinuating that we won't be doing something that is allowable to get the complex baseball ready. It's just a matter of FEMA requires just different processes in order to do that. I know it's complicated. I'm trying to talk fast in terms of in being respectful of time. Happy to answer any questions. We got Jay Ravens here as well.
We have to protect our church. We cannot. And spring training is a critical part of that. It's important not just to Clearwater, it's important to Pinellas County. And if I need to make a case eventually to the TDC, if for some reason we're not able to get FEMA reimbursed, I'll do that. But with the amount of damage to the barrier island south of us, and with the county being heavily dependent upon Clearwater leading the way to drive the bed tax, we can't wait 60 days and put us, I guess that would put us January 1 before we try to get a contractor in there to do work which should be completed ideally by February 1. So,
Correct.
understand the risk, but that's just my 2 cents. If I got to go to the TDC and ask for help, we will, but I don't know how we do not, in our current situation, go forward with it. Councilmember Cotton?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that we can't forego a potential without going and having our spring training. Again, when it comes with FEMA, in my experience, it's all about being able to articulate the reason into which you spent the money, right? And having a good, valid argument. I would spend the money, the 2.1, and then I would honestly still put in for it and argue the fact that this is why we had to do it. It's a major economic driver. And without that, I mean, it's something that Clearwater literally relies upon. Again, we never know what's happening, but I still think that you have solid footing with that argument.
Completely agree. I mean, the beach has already received a hit. That's going to have an economic impact. We cannot add to that by jeopardizing the baseball season. We need to look to the future to remain healthy, and I think we need to forge ahead.
Councilmember Menino?
I as well support and understand that we need to move forward with it. My question is, which I posed earlier, and I don't know if things changed since our last communication, was were we able to have a communication with the Phillies at all to express to them the situation that we're in, and if there's any interest in them being a part of this solution?
Yes, so I did have a quick conversation with them, and some of the things that they offered for us to be able to maybe not have to move the entire project forward on this expedited route versus going through the procurement process is that not the entire complex has to be completed prior to spring training. And so we're working with them to determine what specific areas, and so if we can carve out those areas so that we are just focusing on the process that is, we have to be baseball ready on for those things, and then we'll take the remaining items, for example, the administrative offices and the media room. That is something that we can put through the procurement process if we're able to carve that out. So they offer that as an immediate suggestion, are going to be in touch. I want to make sure that council understands, just by us focusing on baseball ready doesn't mean that it's an open checkbook and we're just going to, spend whatever it takes. But that would be our focus. We're still going to, like I said, work with the Phillies to see, what portions we absolutely have to get done by February and what portions can wait and go through that procurement process, and also work with the insurance company and our current contractors to take advantage of, the processes that we can that are going to ensure we're going to get the best price, but understanding that there is a cost to expedite it and be baseball ready by February.
Yeah. I mean, if this is the direction we're going to go and cover the 2.1, I would just ask that as a staff and as a city, we move fast and as fast as possible. So we're not jeopardizing that time frame as well as spending the money.
That's why we needed the direction today.
Yes.
So
I think
certainly
it's
appreciate the
unanimous.
conversation.
Sounds like me.
Yes.
I don't know where the,
I mean,
I
just says.
don't know if there's a misunderstanding, but it sounds like we're all unanimous. with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I
Just
appreciate
a
that.
further explanation is, our contractor, CERPRO, started the mitigation. They're designed to also act as a GC on the reconstruction side. We have plenty of ability to adjust. Doug Kemp has been intimately involved in the conversations from day one with our contractor representative and myself. And this would just fall under the change 1001. We're going to exclude maybe the administrative areas that can be excluded and focus on the player development areas, the visitor team area, that kind of thing, and put as much towards the justifiable side of we had to do this, and this other stuff we carved out, and that shows good faith, hopefully. But we're still on the 49% of that risk decision with FEMA, so, which is why I brought this to the city manager's attention.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, 15, city attorney verbal reports.
Nothing at this time, Mayor.
New business, item 16. Nothing. 17, closing comments by mayor, just real briefly, talk about it Thursday night, but just, it's amazing what we've done, where we're at. I'm so proud of all of the city, but I'll make some comments Thursday night just to wrap that up and talk about our team and their performance. But with that, I will adjourn the November 4, 2024 City of Clearwater work session, council work session.
2 minutes to spare.